So we're going to need everybody's help because this fire engine, fully loaded, is about 52,000 pounds. So a big effort, a big push will be greatly appreciated. So in the early 19th century, when we had horse-drawn wagons that would respond to fires, when they came back, they would unhitch the horses from the wagons and they would manually push the wagon back into the firehouse. And so it became a push-in effort to get that in. Now, as the fire apparatus became motorized, that tradition continued in order to honor those who came before us and continue the traditions that we respect within the service itself. The ceremony isn't just about a fire truck, it's about all of us, firefighters and the community, coming together to strengthen our bond and ensure our recognition of public safety.
"2025 is your year to start a new business, and the City of Pasco is here to help. We have newly updated commercial kitchen space and vendor windows available at the Pasco Specialty Kitchen downtown. Mobile food vendors, we've made it faster and easier than ever to get permits and connect with customers, thanks to new citywide regulations for food trucks and hand carts. Visit pasco-wa.gov for more information and join the thriving Pasco community. Naturally transformative.
Great things are happening in Pasco, and none of it is by accident. With nearly 800 new neighbors moving in between 2024 and 2025, and thousands more expected in the next 20 years, we're laying the groundwork that will keep this community thriving. That starts with space for homes and businesses. Pasco has issued more than 350 new residential permits this year, and we've seen more than 280 businesses open their doors, from one-person operations launched from the Pasco Specialty Kitchen all the way to economic giants like Darigold and Amazon. From new homes and schools to growing businesses and innovative infrastructure, we're building not just for today, but for generations to come.
Our Department of Community and Economic Development is a key part of that future. Every action that we take now will impact our residents forever. And with that responsibility, our Community and Economic Development team works very diligently to make sure that we're not making any decisions that have adverse impact on our current and future residents. CED is transforming the permitting process to make it faster, easier, and more transparent. We've already removed permit requirements for some common property improvements to align with neighboring cities and the International Building Code. Soon, applicants will be able to submit permits, upload documents, make payments, and track timelines through one online portal. Pasco is experiencing and preparing for significant growth over the next 20 years, reaching just over 120,000 residents by 2046, along with housing, jobs, and infrastructure needed to support them. We're actively engaging with the Pasco community to find places to improve and to chart a path for the future with our comprehensive plan update. Guided by Washington State's Growth Management Act, we're planning responsibly to ensure balanced development, expanded services, and a high quality of life for current and future residents.
New businesses and new neighbors mean new infrastructure, and Pasco is building the framework that allows our city to grow.
In 2025, we celebrated the Process Water Reuse Facility, both the addition of a groundbreaking collaboration with private business to turn food processing wastewater into fuel, fertilizer, and irrigation water, and the expansion of treatment ponds. Together, these updates provide vital support for agriculture in our region. We're investing in transportation, with new roads being built in the Broadmoor area as open land transforms into neighborhoods, schools, and shopping centers, keeping travel safe for drivers and pedestrians alike. A new roundabout at the intersection of Court Street and Road 68 keeps traffic flowing smoothly on two major arterials in our city. We've doubled capacity at the West Pasco Water Treatment Plant and built additional transmission mains and a storage tank to continue to distribute water to all customers. Still ahead, we're planning for significant upgrades to the Butterfield Water Treatment Plant as our team continues delivering on the projects outlined in our ambitious 6-year capital improvements plan. Low-interest loans were secured for several major utility projects supporting vital infrastructure with lesser burden on ratepayers. And we're using new state and federal grants to improve safety on roads and sidewalks across the city, making it easier for residents to stay active and connected.
We're working to protect Pasco residents at every level. To improve our emergency response, the fire department recently replaced 3 structure engines, updated several medic units, and added an additional wildland unit to our fleet. We're also investing in new technologies, such as outfitting every medic unit with cutting-edge cardiac defibrillators and laryngoscopes, all aimed at providing a higher level of care to the thousands of patients we provide EMS to on a yearly basis. One of our strengths is the strong working relationship we have with our law enforcement team. We are currently partnering on a new drone program which allows drones piloted by Pasco police officers to assist our crews on fires and during rescue operations. This type of collaboration significantly enhances our ability to serve our community.
The Pasco Police Department has expanded its drone program to help track suspects and enforce traffic laws more safely, reducing the risk of high-speed pursuits. But technology is only part of the story. Pasco Police are meeting with residents face-to-face, hosting district meetings, and partnering with business leaders to strengthen community trust and collaboration. The community feedback also helps us focus our attention on reducing hotspots, making more of our staff time and resources.
When police anywhere in the Tri-Cities get an animal call, they can partner with our animal control officers at Tri-Cities Animal Services. Our new building has dedicated spaces for handling sick or injured animals, plus an in-house vet's office and improved spaces where families looking to adopt can meet potential pets. But that's just one of the new facilities opened in Pasco this year. This summer, we celebrated a new sporting complex on A Street, giving more Pasco families access to athletic fields closer to home. Downtown at the Pasco Specialty Kitchen, we installed new equipment, a new vendor window, and an outdoor seating area, expanding opportunities for local entrepreneurs. We've invested in Giesa Stadium improvements to ensure that the facility meets MLB requirements and continues providing a safe sports entertainment experience for fans and players alike. And of course, with over 300 days of sunshine each year, we make the most of our outdoor spaces. Thousands join us for events like Cinco de Mayo, the Grand Old 4th of July, the Fiery Foods Festival, Winterfest, and the Cable Bridge Run, celebrating our community all year long. Join us in 2026 for a once-in-a-generation watch party, where soccer fans from all over the region will be able to gather and cheer on their favorite teams as they compete in one of the world's biggest sporting events.
From community and infrastructure and safety to housing, business and recreation, Pasco continues to grow with purpose. Together, we're building a city that's stronger, smarter, and ready for the future.
We're forging the future of the city of Pasco, and we need your voice. The city is updating our comprehensive plan, which covers everything from housing and transportation to utilities and parks. This document showcases the vision of what we want Pasco to be in 2046 and beyond. Tell us about the type of businesses you'd like to see, the types of parks you'd like to visit, and the type of neighborhood you want to live in. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit pasco-wa.gov/comp-plan and become part of the future.
Tonight, we're having a listening session on the Shoreline Master Program. The project that we're working on, developing a user guide and permit tracking system, is funded through a state grant. Washington State Department of Ecology is funding this effort. So we are working for the state, well, we're working for the city through a grant from the state. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about the Shoreline Management Act, just so that we're all on the same level of understanding, the Shoreline Master Program that the city has in place, the user guide that's a draft. It's a easier way to understand the Shoreline Master Program that the city has in place, how it works, what the requirements are, and then it points you to where you can get more details in the city code. We'll review the specific scope that the state's funded for the city to do. And again, most importantly, we want to answer your questions, listen to your input, and factor that in going forward. One thing I want to make clear is that the city is not modifying their Shoreline Master Program at this time. We went through a process a couple years ago with the Planning Commission and the City Council to do some very minor updates to that master program. And so what we're talking tonight is really more about how the program is implemented. And so the user guide focuses on that implementation. Your comments, questions. We also want to hear what you think about implementation, where you think things are working well, where there's opportunities for improvement, that kind of thing. And then we'll conclude with next steps. So the Shoreline Management Act was passed in the early 70s, and it was put in place to have a more coordinated development of the shoreline, or to basically end piecemeal and uncoordinated development. And so there were several master programs that were developed in the early 70s, including the city of Pasco. And then in the early 2000s, the Washington State Department of Ecology updated their Shoreline Master Program guidelines. And then the city of Pasco went through a comprehensive update of their Shoreline Master Program from like 2013, 2014 to 2017. And that was a major rewrite. And again, I was the project manager for that effort, so we developed a kind of completely new program for the city that met all the latest requirements. And then the Shoreline Master Program that the city adopted in 2017 and then updated in 2023 is the program that governs development of the shorelines. And so where are the shoreline areas? It's really a very narrow strip of shoreline area within the city. So it's along the Columbia River and the Snake River, and it's just that 200-foot band. If you can see that band there in yellow, that represents 200 feet basically from where the vegetation starts on the shoreline, 200 feet out or 200 feet upland, and that's where the program regulates and applies. Okay? You can see in the bottom there's a green polygon that represents a wetland, and that it's bisecting that 200 feet. That is an associated wetland. In the case of a wetland like that where it's bifurcated, shoreline jurisdiction bumps out. In the city, on the west corner of the Columbia River as it starts to head north, there's a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers property just past Chiawana Park. And in that area, there's a very extensive wetland. And so in that area, shoreline jurisdiction bumps out quite a ways and follows the edge of that wetland, and then it bumps back in once the slope gets a little steeper and heads up from there. There aren't any lakes in the city of Pasco that are in shoreline jurisdiction, so we're just looking at the Snake and the Columbia River. Floodways are also included, and then we talked about associated wetlands. So one of the things that is unique about the Shoreline Master Program is that in one set of regulations, you have to balance environmental protection, public access, and water-oriented uses. You think about like city zoning. City zoning is focused on development, right? How does development happen? Then they have a critical areas code that is how you protect the wetlands and steep slopes and fish and wildlife habitat. And Aaron and the other planning members, our planning department staff, have to then take those regulations and kind of put them together so that it works, so that you comply with the zoning and you protect wetlands and other resources through the critical areas code. In the Shoreline Master Program, it's all blended together as one program. And so it can be a little challenging to try and meet all the different requirements and achieve that balance. We've tried to develop a balanced program. Hopefully it's working fairly well for the city. So what is included in a Shoreline Master Program? There's a goals and policies section. So what are we trying to accomplish with the program in a lot of different areas? So think about, the environmental protection, public access, and allowing for uses. There are goals related to each of those and policies as well. And then there's regulations. Regulations for specific areas. What we did is we took the whole shoreline for the city and we divided it up into reaches and then placed environment designations on those reaches. Some are industrial, some are residential, some are natural or open space conservation areas. And so we've applied those. And then there are specific regulations. There are general regulations. Critical areas also, our regulations are also incorporated in the Shoreline Master Program, the wetlands, the steep slopes. The SMP also has, like enforcement provisions and ways that you can appeal or get conditional uses allowed, that type of thing. So there's like administrative provisions as well as Shoreline Master Program. So one of the things that we're doing so that it's so you don't have to look through 170 pages of regulation and goals and policies information is developing this user guide. So this is what it looks like. You can go to the website. It's a nice web version. It's only about 40 pages or so, and there's lots of pictures and then narrative that goes along with it. I'm just showing you a few highlights out of the document. Please go to the website and see the details, and hopefully it answers many of your questions. All of the environment designations are an appendix in the back of this user guide. So you can see where you live or where your shoreline area is or the shoreline that you care about in the city and what the environment designation is. And then there's a use table also that shows you like what's allowed in those areas, what's not allowed, what might be allowed under a conditional use. All of that information is summarized in a couple appendices to this document. So if you have an existing property and that property was maybe built, early 80s or whatever, and you're closer to the shoreline area, the edge of the water, than maybe you would be able to be today. This shows you how you can still make modifications to your property. One thing that's important to understand, a term that is important to understand for the Shoreline Master Program, is no net loss of ecological function. So when we have a development on the shoreline, the development has to comply with no net loss of ecological function. So if you take out, if you want to add to your property, like on the vegetation enhancement on the right side, you can see there that the house, which is representing the yellow, is closer than the shoreline buffer would normally allow, and they wanted to add on. Well, you can't go forward closer to the river, but you can go backwards. But you have to enhance vegetation to offset the loss of that buffer, right? That buffer is there for a function, to provide certain functions. Provides habitat, water quality benefits, etc. And so the enhancement would have to occur to be able to, so in other words, you have to mitigate for the impacts. And that achieves no net loss of ecological function. And so kind of any development in the shorelines, if there's going to be an impact to habitat or other functions, then there's going to be an offsetting mitigation. And you try to do it on your own property if you can. If you can't, then you try to work with the city. Maybe there's an offsite opportunity area as well. So anyway, that's kind of how existing uses and expansions of those existing uses work in just one example. There are buffers. So here are the different environment designations. So we have aquatic, which is from the vegetation waterward, right? So in the water. We have natural, which is just a few areas, including that Corps of Engineers. Urban conservancy. Public flood protection, which is like the rip-wrapped areas. Recreation, Chiawana, and the other parks, Sacagawea, etc. There is a high-intensity mixed use, and that may have some opportunity for commercial development in that area. And then high-intensity industrial, that's Big Pasco that we talked about, and then shoreline residential, kind of the rest of the residential areas. So each of these, when there's a development proposal in that environment designation, has buffers anywhere from 5 to 75 feet. The 5 feet is because it's in an area that's already rip-wrapped, and there's really no function, right? So it's really just kind of outside of that flood area, then, or that flood protection facility, then you could have commercial development or other types of development. And then you can see it goes up to 50, 75 feet. There's also, if there's wetlands or other things, then there are more protections that get added on to that. And then there's an 8-foot minimum setback from the buffer for structures. So if you're in a shoreline residential and you're 50 feet away and you want to do something at 55 feet, you have to be 58 feet away to have a structure. And you have to build that structure in a way that doesn't impact the buffer. There are also vegetation standards. They don't necessarily apply retroactively to existing uses and developments, but you manage, again, to achieve no net loss of ecological functions. So if you have a property and it has a lot of trees along it, and you remove those trees or limbs or stuff so that you have a better view, that's changed the function. You had a canopy there, and now you don't have the same canopy, and you don't have the same kind of habitat. So the idea is to basically try to maintain. You can still trim. There's hazards and things that, hazard limbs or property damage that could result. You can do reasonable trimming, but if you have any questions about that, you can check with the city staff on kind of what's the appropriate approach there to maintain those ecological functions. If you have native vegetation on your property and you want to do some landscaping, just check in with the city and talk to them about ways that you can do that in a way that provides additional function. There are lots of native plants that look nice that can be added into the landscaping to provide that function. And we want to see that native vegetation continue on because it's part of what the habitat, it's part of the habitat, it's part of what Fish and Wildlife use for this area. So I mentioned that we have this grant from the state. The grant funds the user guide that we've talked about. It's funding the time for this meeting tonight. And also we're developing an ecological functions tracking system. So what we're doing is we're helping the city develop a way to track permit conditions through time to protect ecological functions along the shoreline. So I know Gary, I'm going to pick on him if that's all right, because we used to work together quite a bit. And so he comes in and he is going to do some development. He got approval and he has to do some vegetation plantings. So those are on his permit. The city, he agrees to those conditions. And it has to be done in like 3 years, and then he has to submit a performance report of how that's working. Right now, that gets transferred into a system, but it's hard to follow up on all these details from all these permits over time. And what we're trying to do is help develop for the city a more streamlined tracking so that requirements for his property or your property or improvements at Chiawana that might require some mitigation, that all of those kind of have reminders that automatically come up through the city's permit tracking system so that the city can now look at like all the provisions that they have related to shoreline development and all of the mitigation requirements or reporting requirements, et cetera, and that information gets generated in a report that they can see, maybe quarterly or monthly, and see how the status is of being implemented. And it's a way to provide accountability for city staff. It's a way to provide accountability to landowners, follow through on what was committed. And it's also a way to provide accountability for the program, right? To show that we are implementing this program consistent with the requirements, and we're following up and ensuring that the compliance is being met. So we're doing that through the permitting system, and I'll show you a little more detail about that here in a second. We're also doing more of a landscape evaluation of ecological functions. I mentioned we did a comprehensive update like 2013 to 2017-18 timeframe. And when we did that and we broke up the shoreline into all these reaches, we also characterized ecological functions for those reaches. So like where there's riprap, no function or very limited function, right? Where the Corps of Engineers wetland is, there's a lot of complexity, a lot of function, a lot of kind of interaction between the water and the in the wetland and the river. So we documented all of those things. We're now going back and looking at the shorelines and say, what do they look like in 2022, 23, 24, just kind of overall, kind of setting the development and the impacts from the development aside and the mitigation that's occurred. How is the landscape, working? Are we seeing more vegetation? Are we seeing less vegetation? Is there an area where maybe vegetation got removed accidentally or incidentally and affected things or intentionally? And so we're doing a landscape view as well so that we not only have kind of the permitting tracking and the requirements, but also on the landscape scale, how are we doing in achieving no net loss of ecological function? And I think what we'll see is that it's varied. Like in some reaches, things have gotten more complex, better habitat. And in other areas, maybe there's opportunity for improvement. So that information is more of a pilot program. So there's not a specific tracking mechanism that we're going to recommend. We're just going to share our findings we're using a variety of different aerial imagery and data sets to do that. And as we stitch that information together into kind of a picture of the shoreline, We'll share that to the city with some options that they can consider for using that tool or those sets of tools to better track implementation and no net loss of ecological function through time. So here's what the tracking tool looks like, just so you know a little bit more about it. So again, more complete record keeping with regard to compliance and the mitigation compliance. So the city uses this eTrackIt IT3 permit management software. They're just adopting this now. Like I mentioned earlier, the provisions are going to get incorporated into this system, and there's going to be some auto reports generated so that the city can receive the information regularly and see what they're doing, what they're required to follow up on. And so reminders for upcoming mitigation reports, outputs, the ecological function tool, which I'll tell you about here in a sec, and then better support for reporting on cumulative effects, kind of over time, through time, how's the shoreline performing. So here's what it might look like. So you would have a shoreline permit, you would have like what's being impacted, and so like this is like maybe trying to improve hydrologic functions, establish some coyote willows. So in year one, you're gonna just report on that and make sure those are established. So it just shows you like different removing invasive vegetation and then removing water debris. So if those were the requirements and you had to do some reporting and monitoring, all this gets captured in that system and then flagged to Aaron and other planning staff so that they can follow up on. Ecological function, this is really one slide. So considering, again, all the different reaches, and this is the Corps of Engineers property. If you see that green swath out there, that's where shoreline jurisdiction gets wider. And so we're looking at water flow, sediment transport, water quality, and habitat functions. And again, looking at the landscape scale, how that works. And then do we also see that when we get on the ground and do some visual verification? Maybe the last thing I'll say on the ecological kind of landscape tracking is that we're going to go back to those subreaches and how we characterize them and then update and kind of compare that description to see, again, better, worse, same. We're not going to do it for the entire shoreline of the city. We're going to pick a few areas to just kind of test the method and see how it works and then share those results with the city. And our report will be made available to the public. Everything that we prepare for this project will ultimately be posted on the city's website for people to look at. The plan is to complete everything by the end of June. So we're well underway on a lot of the technical work on the permit tracking system and the ecological functions look. But yeah, all of this work wraps up by the end of June. The reports will probably be available like sometime in July on the city's website. And then we can go from there.
Want to help wildlife? Don't feed them. While it's understandable that people both love to watch wildlife and want to help wild animals by feeding them, wildlife feeding is more harmful than helpful. Animals have evolved to endure a wide range of environmental conditions and food availability, and they rarely need supplemental food from humans to survive. A major consequence of wildlife feeding is that it spreads contagious diseases. When animals are fed by humans, they come into close contact with one another at feed sites. If there's a sick animal in the area, these unnatural concentrations of animals can result in spreading disease more rapidly than if feeding wasn't happening. One of the most impactful diseases to deer, elk, and moose is chronic wasting disease, or CWD for short, which is always fatal. It's caused by proteins called prions that act as an infectious agent and spread through direct contact between animals, as well as indirect contact through exposure to contaminated environments. Once prions are deposited into soil, water, or even plant tissue from infected animals, they're extremely difficult to remove and can remain in the environment for years. The first detection of CWD in Washington was near Spokane in 2024. As a result of the disease being present in our state, the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife enacted a statewide ban on feeding deer, elk, and moose in an effort to minimize transmission of CWD. Feeding any kind of wildlife, including the use of salt or mineral licks that encourages these species to gather together, is illegal. Most animals with CWD appear normal until the end stages of the disease, when they could show signs of weight loss, lethargy, drooping ears, excessive salivation and urination, and loss of fear of people. Even when infected animals look healthy, they're spreading CWD. Ultimately, this disease can cause serious threats to the long-term conservation of deer, elk, and moose populations. In addition to the ban on feeding deer, elk, and moose, WDFW has adopted several other rules to prevent the spread of CWD. Go to wdfw.wa.gov/CWD for additional information on CWD, how it's being managed in Washington, and more ways you can help prevent the spread of this disease. Most important, though, leave wild species alone and let them be wild.
Welcome to Pasco, where we are building a community rooted in culture. Check out the Farmers Market downtown at Peanuts Park, Saturdays from May through October. Taste something new at one of our diverse local restaurants, the Pasco Specialty Kitchen vendor windows, or our growing food truck scene. And enjoy the natural beauty of our waterfront parks and the Sacagawea Heritage Trail. Shop small, explore local, and experience the spirit of Pasco. Naturally transformative.
So we're going to need everybody's help because this fire engine, fully loaded, is about 52,000 pounds. So a big effort, a big push will be greatly appreciated. So in the early 19th century, when we had horse-drawn wagons that would respond to fires, when they came back, they would unhitch the horses from the wagons and they would manually push the wagon back into the firehouse. And so it became a push-in effort to get that in. Now, as the fire apparatus became motorized, that tradition continued in order to honor those who came before us and continue the traditions that we respect within the service itself. The ceremony isn't just about a fire truck, it's about all of us, firefighters and the community, coming together to strengthen our bond and ensure our recognition of public safety.
"2025 is your year to start a new business, and the City of Pasco is here to help. We have newly updated commercial kitchen space and vendor windows available at the Pasco Specialty Kitchen downtown. Mobile food vendors, we've made it faster and easier than ever to get permits and connect with customers, thanks to new citywide regulations for food trucks and hand carts. Visit pasco-wa.gov for more information and join the thriving Pasco community. Naturally transformative.
Great things are happening in Pasco, and none of it is by accident. With nearly 800 new neighbors moving in between 2024 and 2025, and thousands more expected in the next 20 years, we're laying the groundwork that will keep this community thriving. That starts with space for homes and businesses. Pasco has issued more than 350 new residential permits this year, and we've seen more than 280 businesses open their doors, from one-person operations launched from the Pasco Specialty Kitchen all the way to economic giants like Dairy Gold and Amazon. From new homes and schools to growing businesses and innovative infrastructure, we're building not just for today, but for generations to come.
Our Department of Community and Economic Development is a key part of that future. Every action that we take now will impact our residents forever. And with that responsibility, our Community and Economic Development team works very diligently to make sure that we're not making any decisions that have adverse impact on our current and future residents. CED is transforming the permitting process to make it faster, easier, and more transparent. We've already removed permit requirements for some common property improvements to align with neighboring cities and the International Building Code. Soon, applicants will be able to submit permits, upload documents, make payments, and track timelines through one online portal. Pasco is experiencing and preparing for significant growth over the next 20 years, reaching just over 120,000 residents by 2046, along with housing, jobs, and infrastructure needed to support them. We're actively engaging with the Pasco community to find places to improve and to chart a path for the future with our comprehensive plan update. Guided by Washington State's Growth Management Act, we're planning responsibly to ensure balanced development, expanded services, and a high quality of life for current and future residents.
New businesses and new neighbors mean new infrastructure, and Pasco is building the framework that allows our city to grow.
In 2025, we celebrated the Process Water Reuse Facility, both the addition of a groundbreaking collaboration with private business to turn food processing wastewater into fuel, fertilizer, and irrigation water, and the expansion of treatment ponds. Together, these updates provide vital support for agriculture in our region. We're investing in transportation, with new roads being built in the Broadmoor area as open land transforms into neighborhoods, schools, and shopping centers, keeping travel safe for drivers and pedestrians alike. A new roundabout at the intersection of Court Street and Road 68 keeps traffic flowing smoothly on two major arterials in our city. We've doubled capacity at the West Pasco Water Treatment Plant and built additional transmission mains and a storage tank to continue to distribute water to all customers. Still ahead, we're planning for significant upgrades to the Butterfield Water Treatment Plant as our team continues delivering on the projects outlined in our ambitious 6-year capital improvements plan. Low-interest loans were secured for several major utility projects supporting vital infrastructure with lesser burden on ratepayers. And we're using new state and federal grants to improve safety on roads and sidewalks across the city, making it easier for residents to stay active and connected.
We're working to protect Pasco residents at every level. To improve our emergency response, the fire department recently replaced 3 structure engines, updated several medic units, and added an additional wildland unit to our fleet. We're also investing in new technologies, such as outfitting every medic unit with cutting-edge cardiac defibrillators and laryngoscopes, all aimed at providing a higher level of care to the thousands of patients we provide EMS to on a yearly basis. One of our strengths is the strong working relationship we have with our law enforcement team. We are
Good evening. Welcome to the City of Pasco Council meeting for March 2nd, 2026. The Council thanks you for being a part of your city government. At meetings, the Council takes formal action on items, holds public hearings, and conducts other business of the city. Agenda packets are available on the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov/agenda. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV, channel 191 on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamed on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and Microsoft Teams webinar. This and previous council meeting video is available on the city's website. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and or questions by contacting the city manager, city clerk, or by using the Ask Pasco app. I will get that right. Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you would take the roll, please.
Okay, Cotta?
Here.
Figueroa.
Present.
Hernandez.
Present.
Perales.
Here.
Campos.
If he's
Okay,
not online,
he may join us later. He was going to try to come online.
If not.
Milne
I am present.
and Grimm.
Here, thank
Okay,
you.
we have 6 currently present.
Okay, if everyone would please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, rolling right along. We are on number 4 already. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by the roll call vote as one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If further discussion is desired by council members, the item may be removed from the consent agenda to the regular agenda and considered separately. Item A, approval of meeting minutes for February 9th and February 17th. B, bills and communications approving claims in the total amount of $10,964,318.55. C, resolution number 4708, City of Pasco Comprehensive Safety Action Plan adoption. Would anybody like to remove, just for the sake of the audience, there's already been a couple items removed from the consent agenda and placed lower. Would anybody else like to move anything else? Seeing none, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
We have a motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Milne to approve the consent agenda as read. It is seconded by Councilmember Perales. Madam Clerk, if we could do a roll call.
Figueroa.
Aye.
Hernandez.
Aye.
Perales.
Aye.
Cotta.
Yes.
Milne.
Yes.
Grimm.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Very good. We are going to move on to 5A, proclamations and acknowledgements for National Reading Month. Ms. Pashon.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So National Reading Month is this month, March, and it aligns with Dr. Seuss's birthday. And tonight there's a proclamation in front of you to be presented to the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, who have requested this proclamation.
Thank you. And I would like to come down there and present it. And Mr. Figueroa, if you have that much passion and energy, I would like you to please join me down there, sir.
All right. Been waiting for this moment.
Are there any members from the Daughters of the American Revolution who would like to join us up here? Thank you. We'll read this to you and then we'll take a picture with the rest of council also. It is my pleasure. Whereas reading is a foundational skill that allows individuals to explore worlds beyond their own, expand their imagination, and develop critical thinking skills necessary for success in life, and whereas March is designated as National Reading Month to motivate Americans of all ages to read every day in honor of the birthday of the beloved children's author, Dr. Seuss. And whereas research has shown that literacy skills begin to develop at birth and that reading regularly is linked to positive mental health, cognitive development, and lifelong learning, and whereas cultivating a love for reading prepares young minds for academic success, improves vocabulary, and fosters empathy and creativity, and whereas the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, Kennewick chapter, is committed to fostering a community of readers and encouraging families to read together daily, and now, therefore, I, Charles Grimm, Mayor of the City of Pasco, Washington, do hereby proclaim March 2026 as National Reading Month in the City of Pasco and urge all residents to celebrate this month by reading, visiting local libraries, and encouraging children to discover the joy of books. Thank you so much. Thank you. Here's this, and if you guys want to come in front of the rest of council, we'd love to. You guys want to come down? Yeah, why don't you guys come down and love to join me for a picture? Yes, yeah. Is this good? Yeah. You just cram in the middle there. Yeah. Cram and cozy.
He tries to look natural.
You guys good? Thank you. Thank you again. So much. Appreciate it. You guys are doing good work. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yes, read to your children and encourage them to read. It is a great thing. Moving on to number 6, public comments. The public may address council on any items unless it relates to a scheduled public hearing. This item is provided to allow the opportunity to bring items to the attention of city council or to express an opinion on an issue. Its purpose is not to provide a venue for debate or for the posing of questions with the expectation of an immediate response. Some questions require consideration by council over time and after a deliberative process with input from a number of different sources. Some questions are best directed to staff members who have access to specific information. Citizen comments will normally be limited to 3 minutes each. Those with lengthy messages are invited to summarize their comments and or submit written information for consideration by the council outside of formal meetings. Lastly, when called upon, please state your name and city or county residency into the microphone before providing your comments. Thank you. And with that said, we will now open public comments. Thank you, sir. If you would just press the button for the red microphone there and just state your name and city or county of residence, please. Oh, on the microphone itself, sir. Or kind of at the base of it there. Yes, sir.
Hi there. My name is Sean Flanagan, Benton County, Washington. I'd like to kind of just paint a picture first. You wake up in the middle of the night, not to the smell or the heat, but to the sound of a fire so loud it's roaring through your house. You turn over to your husband, you wake him up, tell him to grab his glasses and to rush out the door. You only have so much time that you grab your phone and the clothes that you're wearing. You reach the door of the house where you're met with the flames, and that's where you find the heat. You get to the stairs. You have to buckle yourself into a chair, and as you're descending down and you reach the bottom, you get stuck. You can't unbuckle yourself. Your husband has to turn around, help you out. As you're being carried out the door, the fire of the house meets you. While you're there, you'll sustain injuries, and when you turn around, or you'll sustain injuries from the burns, you'll find yourself getting out of the door, and then when you turn around and you see your home, this is what you find. The house that you spent the last 25 years in, completely being burned to the ground. And when the ambulance gets there, you'll be flown to Harbor View in Seattle, where you'll spend months in recovery. You'll have injuries, and the doctor will tell you that you likely won't survive. That is the story of a client who reached out to me, and I'm a contractor, and she had her house burned from a targeted arson attack, and she wants to add a security perimeter around her house. They've rebuilt over the last 2 years. And, she continues to live in fear of, retaliation. She doesn't feel safe. And so she wants to add a fence. And she likes the fence to be as close to the street as possible off of her property. And so what we need is permission of a right of encroachment permit to put the fence, because the city has an easement 7 feet onto her property. And as I went to the engineering department, or the planning department here, they pretty much just told me that there is no exceptions to the right of encroachment. That it's just something that they don't allow. And what I'm trying to do is get an extra hand.
Can you wrap up, Mr.
Yeah,
Flanagan?
I'm trying to get an extra hand. I'm looking for somebody here to talk to somebody in the planning department to allow me to get that permit to put the fence. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, if you can, maybe just send a new email to staff and maybe they can copy a couple of us in so we can track it or whatever. And,
Yeah.
just
And I
see where that
apologize. I
goes.
did try to send an email. I just didn't have the right ones.
Okay, that's okay. Yep.
Okay.
We'd love to follow up. Thank you,
Where
sir.
can I get that email?
Oh, just to the staff. Yep, Miss Miller's got a card for you. Sorry, Miss Matson. I only knew you as Miss Miller for a couple months, but it's stuck. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time, Mr. Flanagan. Anybody else for public comment? Step right on up. Thank you, Miss Mahoney.
Is on?
Yes, ma'am.
Mary Mahoney, Pasco resident. Regarding the Pasco Aquatic Center, Attorney Lee Kerr and proxies and Director Matt Watkins will serve as the operating partners for at least 3 years. With a pie chart, show the total tax dollars to be paid for Director Watkins' salary, travel expenses, see his passport. Then show the total tax dollars to be paid to Attorney Lee Kerr and proxies for the next 3 years and or into perpetuity. Then show the total tax dollars to be paid for the Aquatic Center. Phase 1 is over $40 million. No total has ever been given. Then show the total tax dollars paid for the East Pasco Memorial Pool cover for under $2 million. Then show the total tax dollars spent for Pasco's water, sewers, MLK Center, libraries, homeless shelters, schools, spay-neuter clinic. Then show the repayment of the missing and or stolen $545,000 in will donation by our veteran, Mr. Ashby. Then show the repayment of $300,000 of that donation siphoned off by Animal Control Julie Chambers. Then show the repayment of the missing and or stolen rainy day fund with Animal Control rehire Angela Zeiler. Then show the total money made by Animal Control TCAS with the usage pay system. See the AG file on 9/29/23 with 48 counts of animal cruelty, the ongoing cruel, botched, and falsely certified euthanasia methods now used at Animal Control TCAS. Provide a permit for Animal Control TCAS to operate as an animal research provider to WSU. Show the money paid from WSU for our animals. See the WSU Zeiler files. Provide a notice to Pasco City Attorney Lee Kerr from the Washington State Bar for his oath violations regarding his ongoing authorization of no due process at Animal Control TCAS. Provide a floodplain permit number 404 and Floodplain Clean Water Act reports and fines paid by Pasco and Hayden Homes for killing our 8 floodplain American bald eagles with eaglets and our floodplain Canadian geese. Also see Ike Meyer Roundy for Pasco's playbook regarding indentured servitude for homeowners. Provide ULID designs for my property with start dates, costs, notice, harassment, and retaliation against me and my property. All requests are for the record via RCW 42.56 with notice to Pasco.
Thank you, Ms. Mahoney. Anybody else for public comment? Let's step right on up, ma'am. Just name and city or county for the record, please.
Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Rengel, and I live here in Pasco, and I'm a business person in downtown. And well, I'm here I have my paper so I don't forget and try to mix up my words in English because English is my second language, so I gotta read a little bit just to make sure. And so I'm here just to clarify the positive update mentioned on the meeting on February 2nd of this year. I'm going to mention regarding the LVA helping to find a tenant for the location where the Havana Cafe was. When Havana Cafe closed his doors, I take over. I had my business there until the 1st of January. So I want to clarify it's been past a little bit more than 4 years. So I'm the owner of the previous business in the same location, and the name was Mexa Restaurant. So I closed my doors on January of 2026, reminding good terms of agreements with the property owner, leaving all my equipment valuated in $50K in favor for releasing my reminding contract. The part that sounds crooked to me when I hear the meeting is about the Jamaican person signing a lease on the same property, which I myself spoke with him by messages and in person as well, because I tried to negotiate my lease and my equipment to transfer and sell to get some profit. Looking for or trying to get someone to get a business or get this opportunity. The time we spoke was in November, in the middle of November 2025, and no one else was involved in our conversations with him and I, and just him and I, and he wasn't a serious person with me. He was just wasting my time, making me believe he was interesting. The point of my conversation is to clarify, no one has signed as today's a lease with the building, and it's still available. And it seems like the Jamaican guy that I talked to in person and through messages, he was just a promise ghost. And without being said, now I want to say and thank you to the program that you guys have for supporting natural to cleaning Pasco downtown. That's a great a service that you guys provide for us, and it helps a lot to keep the downtown clean, and we love it. It helps a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your investment in Pasco, and thanks for the positive feedback. It's always great to know when we get it right too. So really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Anybody else for public comment? Anybody online this evening, Ms. Michelle? No. One more time for public comment. Going once, going twice. With no one going forward, we will move on and close public comments. Number 7, reports from committees and or officers. What's everybody been doing this week? Councilmember Perales.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll go ahead and start it off. Yeah, the last week was another productive week. Many of us attended the Swag Coffee grand opening right there on 20th. That was great. A lot of people showed up. It was amazing. Also, we just want to talk about downtown. I noticed that the closing sale of the 224 West Lewis Street property happened about a week ago, and looks like a business in downtown is going to be expanding their operation in there. So that's great to kind of see businesses being repurposed, and we see a lot of vacant property down there not being used, and so I was glad to see that. Also attended the strategic visioning workshop with the Latin Business Association. Mike Gonzalez, he's a new executive director, talked about downtown, talked about the downtown master plan. We're going into initial talks about bringing back the Pasco Business Advisory Council, which was very, very active a couple years ago. We had a lot of our meetings over at DMS Construction's office right there in the port, and so we're talking about bringing that back, and so we can just talk about the downtown and also perhaps the shoreline. Also had a great phone call with Roman Torres, with the Roman Torres Foundation, and staff has set up a meeting to talk with them about perhaps selecting City of Pasco for a soccer academy site. So pretty active week. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Councilman Cotta.
Yeah, we just, Charles and Leo and myself were part of the interview process, interviewing candidates for the Housing Authority Board position, which it looks like we're going to talk about a little bit later tonight. But enjoyed speaking with the candidates, and it was a good set of interviews.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Figueroa.
Yeah, so just to kind of share a little bit more about the week, and I saw some of you at different events, so I had the opportunity to attend the HOPWA Advisory Committee meeting alongside Councilmember Perales and City Manager Mr. Stewart, and it was my first one, so I was just kind of listening and trying to figure out what had been done before and everything else. It was good to kind of hear the report of kind of the vision of what's going to happen at the HOPWA Center and different things, and getting some good numbers going off of that. Furthermore, I was able to go to the Visit Tri-Cities board meeting. That was my first one as well. So I was able to get acquainted with a lot of the board members there, and kind of hearing a lot of the projects that are going on in our region, and just introduce myself and kind of the work that we're trying to do. And also that same time, the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce luncheon, and just kind of hearing kind of the statewide vision for 2040. I know it's kind of like seems kind of distant, but it's one of those things that, you know, when we're doing local government, you want to start thinking ahead. So that was pretty exciting to kind of hear. And also attended the fire department meeting that we had. And it was just really beneficial of just hearing all the work that our fire department does. And Chief Crowley and Deputy Chiefs Tim and Chris were just phenomenal with their insight of what they provided and what they do. So that was really good. And then for the last piece, I will bring my hat back on because on Friday I had the opportunity to go to Emerson Elementary and read to dual language classrooms. So I was able to read in English and Spanish some of Dr. Seuss classics. And so that was exciting for me because we were just kickstarting National Reading Month, and it just so happened that we did this proclamation. And Dr. Seuss is one of my favorite authors, and it kind of just started the passion for me to read. And so one of the things that I left those students with was to never stop reading, because, you know, that's the imagination, and you get transported to different worlds that perhaps you might not get to see or visit, but you get to learn a lot from other people. So it was just exciting, and I did buy this hat off of them at Emerson, supporting them out there. But, you know, as a proud byproduct of Pasco School Districts, that's one of the things that I enjoy, just going into the classrooms and giving back, and just kind of hearing those kids ask questions, and got to share a little bit about city government and city of Pasco. So that was a little bit about my week. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I probably had my busiest week I've had since being on council. Some of the highlights, not only the time I spent with you gentlemen around, but 8 a.m. Wednesday morning, I met with the other 3 mayors of the Quad Cities, and it was our first meeting. Our plan is to meet every month throughout the year as much as we can make it happen, just to really see what we can collaborate for the good of the region. And unfortunately, this LRA housing kind of stole the show this time, and those are all over the news right now, the less restrictive alternative housing, where really the state is putting some violent sex predators into our neighborhoods. And yes, we have registered sex offenders all around us. I mean, you can go online and find those maps, but these are being put into a specific house. They're being clustered together, often without supervision. And in my mind, it's just another way the state is really just imposing an unfunded mandate on us as municipalities to kind of watch out for some of the most dangerous among us. And I know, especially over in Benton County, I know especially in Kennewick, Mayor McShane has really been thrust to the forefront of this because they kind of just woke up one day and found one in their community off of Edison Street near 8th Avenue. And he's had to learn a whole lot. Some of the stuff he's had to learn, I know he doesn't even want to put in his brain to think about. He's trying to pour over numbers and data and the legality of all this. But a topic like that, it's hard to dig deep into and not, you know, cover the topic a little bit too, and kind of feel bad for him in doing that. But I really appreciate his leadership and kind of taking the lead on it. But as much as we as a council, I think are strongly opposed to this from what I can tell, and other city councils around the region and our county commissions, it's going to take us all. It is going to take every one of us, not just the elected officials, but it's going to take the citizens to show up. Whether it be a rally or whether it be marching on Olympia or filling a stadium, we're working on having more answers than asking questions. We're looking at having paths forward and solutions that people can get behind, but everybody's got to show up. We can't do what we do come election time and 35% of us show up. If we really want to keep these out of our community, it's going to take every one of us. So I encourage you, if anything, to get involved. And so after that, we went to the Franklin County Commissioner meeting where 3 of us spoke. Even the Connell mayor was there, and just kind of all trying to show support and kind of come to a consensus of what we are going to do about that. And we had an hour-long presentation in front of the county commissioners. And then from there, I was invited to go to that same Tri-City chamber luncheon, but I was told it was at the Hapo Center, and I have proof of that too. But I show up to the Hapo Center, and suddenly there's 50 Pasco police officers there and Pasco Fire, and they were just doing some training and some other talking at a first responder lunch. So I quickly got out my phone and said, "This is really fruitious. You know, you've actually sent me to the right place, and please excuse me if I stay here. These are my people here." So really kind of enjoyed the fellowship I had with them, and then yes, joined Councilmember Campos and Figueroa at the fire department at 4 o'clock that day, and that was just Wednesday, you guys. It was a busy week, I tell you. And then of course, yes, with Councilmember Perales and lots of city staff and others at Swag Coffee Bar, and that is good coffee, you guys. I just drink Americanos, which is, you know, straight up, you know if it's good or not, and that was good coffee, I'll tell you what. Then we had I met the city manager at noon for Hayden Homes. We did a ribbon cutting, or not a ribbon cutting, but a breaking ground ceremony for more homes. I mean, we are going to start continuing to encroach on that agricultural land up there, and I know there's kind of mixed feelings about it, but the state mandates we're going to grow, and so we are headed that direction. And so I guess in closing, I want to say this is almost more for miscellaneous council discussion, but in my, I just want to give a shout out while everybody's still here. In my non-official capacity, I had to do a horrible thing last night. I walked over to my neighbors and I saw kind of some commotion over there, for lack of a better phrase, and he was putting a horse down. And it's really, really kind of a sad thing to put a big creature down. And, you know, I was kind of taken off guard by it, and I know that you know, it's a horse the neighborhood's loved and the neighborhood's fed, and you know, that's just a really serious thing, and felt of course bad for my neighbor having to put him down and everything. And lo and behold, I look up and there is our deputy chief cook there in Carhartts and flannels, and I was probably right next to him for 5 minutes before I even recognized who he was. He was really incognito, and the more I've been around him, just the heart of gold he has, the heart to serve that he has, and he was just there with his wife, just showing love and compassion, and just they didn't have to be there, but they wanted to be there, just in a way to serve our community outside of his regular dress blues. So Chief, I really appreciate it. It was really good to see you there, and thank you for your service in so many ways to the community. So thank you, everybody. It was a busy week, and I think some of those updates are worth hearing. Let's move on, though. Number 8, hearings and council action or ordinances and resolutions relating thereto, none listed. Number 9, ordinances and resolutions not related to hearings. A, ordinance number 4818, the Emergency Comprehensive Plan Amendment, School District Capital Facilities Plan Update, and this is Ms. Mattson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I would like to request that we move item A after item B, just because there's 2 comprehensive plan amendment applications for discussion tonight, and if one of them gets delayed, that will delay the other one. They're tied together into the same comprehensive plan amendment application. So I think if we talked about the low density residential application first, and we get direction from council to delay it for whatever reason, then that will save us some time and not having to go back and approve the capital facilities plan.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Mattson. Just do it by the book. Could I get a motion to amend the agenda, please? Putting letter B of number 9 before letter A, switching their spots.
I make a motion to move agenda item A after B.
Thank you. Of number 9, motion on the floor by Councilmember Perales to swap letter A and letter B of number 9.
And I'll second that.
Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Milne. All in favor say aye. 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 Motion carries. We will move on to letter B, ordinance numbers 4819 and 4820, emergency low density residential land use comprehensive plan amendment and RS20 rezone. Back to you, Ms. Mattson.
Thank you, Mayor, for adjusting the agenda there. So this is an emergency comprehensive plan amendment brought to the council tonight for consideration. We did workshop this item, so I won't go into as much detail. This item relates to, and here's the schedule and how we've gotten to this point in approval criteria. So this has gone to the Planning Commission, and the proposal in front of you is to change the comprehensive plan designation for the property shown on the screen here. And this designation follows the RS20 zone currently. So the proposal is threefold. The first is to modify the land use designation from 3 to 6 units per acre to 2 to 5 units per acre. That would be the land use comprehensive plan designation, and it would apply to those properties shown in light yellow. The second change would be to rezone the properties to R15, and it's probably easier to see the properties on this slide where the arrows are pointing to the light yellow. But the rezone would be from RS20, which currently allows for 2 units per acre, to R15, which allows for 2 to 3 units per acre. And the purpose of this change, and the third change, is the associated text amendments that go with this. So there's 3 actions before council tonight, and there's 2 motions associated with the 3 actions. And the R15 zone, like I said, allows for 2 to 3 units per acre, and the main purpose of this change, how it originated, was the RS20 zone was in conflict with the land use designation. So the RS20 zone previously said, or currently says, you can get 2 lots per acre, and citywide the land use designation was 3 to 6 units per acre. So there was a conflict and we needed to fix it. So that was the purpose of this change, and that is why we brought it forward to council. So that is the action before council tonight for consideration. I did want to mention, since we do summarize public comments that we received at the public hearing, that we did receive additional comments this week for 2 properties that are located outside of the RS20 zone, and they have requested to be included in this zone change. So I did prepare some slides to show you those properties if council is interested in looking at those. If we did go that route, we would need to delay the decision tonight with another public hearing, and I haven't had a chance to really iron out if that means going back to planning commission for a public hearing or if we can do it at the council level. I will certainly vet that out with legal immediately after this meeting, not tonight, but tomorrow or sometime this week, if we receive that direction. So there'd be a little bit of delay on both of these items tonight if that's the direction you'd like to go. So with that, I'll turn it over to, and then the other topic in this area that I think has come up a few times for the RS20 zone and Riverview altogether is infrastructure, sidewalks, lighting. We do have that planned for a discussion with council on April 13th. So we can talk about it tonight. I would just recommend that maybe we treat that as a related topic. If we were to try and fold it into this rezone somehow, that would certainly delay this longer for the people who have been waiting for over a year now to do development. So we do have that scheduled for April. I'm happy to hear input tonight, but if you'd like to get into the weeds, April 13th would be the best meeting to talk about that topic in staff's opinion. So I'll pause there and let you answer questions, and happy to field them.
Go ahead. Yeah. I'd rather have the council have a presentation and more information about curbs and gutters, sidewalks, rather than just do it tonight willy-nilly. So I'd be in favor of just waiting until April 18th, but then just focusing on this for tonight.
Okay.
And that's probably where I would be at too, Ms. Matson. I know we were contacted by a couple of the developers here who are here in the audience too, and just trying to look for, I guess, a way to get to yes, or some kind of middle ground where we can, I guess, kind of achieve council's goals at the same time, but continue to, develop as the state mandates too. So that would be great if you would be so kind.
Okay, so I can show you the 2 properties if you'd like, and just move straight to that. We'll see how the slides turned out. I did these like 5 minutes before the meeting. So this is the overall zoning map, and the square is the next slide. I'm just zooming in here to show you the area. And this shows that mustard yellow. It's all yellow, I know, but there's a dark yellow color. That is the R15 zone. So that's down in the Riverview area, in and around the donut holes. And then the subject property sites are down in this area. So if I zoom in, those 2 properties with the stars, the first property with the star on the top is zoned currently for R1 right now. That's a pretty dense zoning, and this was at request of the property owner. It was just zoned recently, a couple of years ago. I believe it was RS 12 before. And then the property to the south, it's not that entire property that the star's on, I believe. I think it's a smaller property. That is RS 12 currently, and both of those properties with the stars are requesting to be included in the RS 20 zone. It's not like the most seamless transition between the zones. Usually from a land use planning standpoint, you would like the zones to be pretty consistent. But if you look at the donut hole above that light gray, there, that likely will come in as R15. So then it would really complete these two sites and not be too much of a satellite lot that's created. And then further, the RS 12 zone is becoming a lot more similar to R15 just based on lot sizes. So from a technical standpoint, I don't have an issue with it. When we went through this process, we never planned on including RS 12 or R1 lots into the proposal. But looking at these two lots, staff doesn't have any issue including it. What we would need to do is likely revise the SEPA, the State Environmental Policy Act checklist that was reviewed for this proposal, and renotice a public hearing. Whether I would like to, if we can, just hold the public hearing at the council level. I need to run that by legal. If not, then we could take it to back to the Planning Commission. So this will be delayed by, I would say, a month or two. Obviously, we'll keep it moving along. We're motivated to get a resolution to this topic. So if council would like to direct staff to include these two properties, we will vet out the procedure and move forward with these. This was publicly noticed to the public when this came through, so I haven't heard from anybody else that they want to be included, and we really weren't intending on asking other zones about this change. The purpose was to just do the emergency comp plan fix so that there wasn't a conflict in code, and then knowing that we're in the middle of the 20-year periodic update, we're looking at all the zones citywide anyway, so I didn't think it was appropriate to go out of our way to ask, hey, do you want to be included, because we're analyzing the whole city's zoning and comp plan amendments. And later in the year we will be taking a global comp plan amendment to council. It'll be pretty fun. There's 25 different changes happening to the map right now, and I know there'll be a lot more. So that is what I have.
No, thank you. And I think, for the sake of it, sounds like we've spent a fair amount of staff time on this, and I know, like you said, they've been trying to work through this for quite some time too. So I really appreciate what you're trying to do. I mean, typically we want to do everything as it should be done, but it sounds like I appreciate your sensitivity towards the amount of time that's been invested into this already, and so it sounds like you have a pretty good path to go forward.
Yes.
Anybody else?
So it sounds like we should just hold off then on making decisions tonight then? Is that what we need to do?
That was kind of my that's probably where I'm at on it, to allow for these two pieces of property to be added to it, and like Ms. Mattson said, for her to check legal to see if we can just do that public hearing at the council level. I think that will be a big break of time, and just try to get this done. Just get over the finish line.
Do we need a motion, or we're just not going to take action then?
I think we're not going to take action, but we should give enough head nods or something to staff so that they know that we're all on board and don't change our minds either. Would everybody be up? Or Mr. Cotta?
Yeah, I support the decision. Yeah, let's. It sounds like the city staff is eager to get it to be part of the adaptation of this ordinance, and we can go forward with it.
Okay. Anybody else? You guys good? Okay.
Mayor, just for clarification, I did ask the property owners before the meeting, but I just want to confirm, since they're here, that they're okay with that approach. I see 2 thumbs up. Okay. And then just another point of clarification, I have direction on this item. I'm not sure if we need to formally open up the next item, but I would say that one should just be delayed too.
So letter A, just table that.
Yeah,
also.
they're supposed to be considered at the same time. They're one comprehensive plan amendments are looked at collectively, so I think they should both be approved at the same meeting. I mean, in theory, and I guess legal's on the call.
That's what I was going to say, whether we table it or just let it
we
sit.
could table it, and I can bring it to the final decision meeting with this. There's, we want to get it adopted at some point this year and soon, but I don't see the issue with delaying the item, and they both have to be approved in the same meeting as far as I know. So
Thank you. Mr. Daniel, what would be the proper procedure for dealing with holding off on these?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think you can either table it or table it to a date certain. Either way, if you table it, then you have to pull it from the table to consider it at a future meeting. If it's a date certain, you would do that on a specific date.
Okay, thank you. Would it be helpful to give a date? That way we have something set rather than just table it. I don't want to use the word indefinitely, but without a time frame.
it wouldn't be helpful because I'm not sure what date. If we're taking it,
Okay.
for timing purposes for the public hearing, I need to sort of work backwards. So I would say table it and say, address this year.
At the soonest
And we'll
possible.
make sure that we bring it as soon as we can.
Okay. Anybody want to make that motion, please?
I'm sorry, I was yelling at high school kids back in the term all weekend, so my voice is a little hoarse. I moved to table agenda item right here. Ordinances numbers 4819 and 4820 to a further date. And 18.
Thank you. Motion on the floor by Councilmember Perales to table letter A and B ordinance number 4818, 4819, and 4820 to a later date as soon as possible.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Figueroa. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Let's roll on to letter C, ordinance numbers 4821 and 4822, creation of Aquatic Center Fund and budget amendment for Aquatic Center staffing. And this is Mr. Hebden. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Tonight before you, we're seeking approval for two ordinances, 4821, which will establish a special revenue fund for the operation of the Aquatic Center, and creating a new chapter, 3.270 Aquatic Center Fund in the Pasco Municipal Code. Ordinance number 4822 is amending the 25-26 biennial operating budget that was established by ordinance number 4749. And so the reason for the additional fund, as you are aware, the city is working with the PPFD, the Pasco Public Facilities District, in building the aquatic center and opening that facility sometime mid-2026. And the PPFDs requested the city develop an interlocal agreement to provide management, operational, administrative, financial, and legal services for the facility. The ILA was prepared collaboratively with the PPFD and the City Legal Counsel to clearly define roles, responsibilities, cost structure, and risk protection. And so staff is seeking, in order to keep the books separate, this additional fund that we can receive the revenues from the PPFD and track all the expenditures. So that is the first ordinance, 4821. And I'll present them both and then turn it back to you for discussion or questions. The second ordinance is, as I mentioned, to amend the budget. We've worked with quite a few in our internal to the city, along with the PPFD, in developing appropriate staff levels and what's anticipated to be the budget expenditures and revenues. And at this point in time, the increase, we're seeking an additional spending authority for just over 2.5 million. I guess I should say it exactly, $2,557,900 in that amendment, or in that ordinance to amend the budget. And it's important to note that all staffing costs are planned to be funded through PPFD revenue pursuant to the ILA and maintaining general fund neutrality. So everything that we spend for the facility will be tracked separate, and there is no contributions from the city's general fund in this agreement. So again, before you, these two ordinances, and we recommend both of them to you. And at this point, happy to answer any questions or open up for discussion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hebden. Any questions from council? Councilmember Perales?
Yeah, I just got two. Mr. Hebden, so what if the sales tax revenue declines? Is there a certain backstop risk that the city has to take on?
No, that would, the PPFD is a separate entity that will need to fund itself.
Okay. And then my other one was about the aquatics manager with that 25%. So, but this individual is overlooking Memorial. So I guess my question is, once things really scale up over at the aquatic center, is that person going to have enough bandwidth to oversee that and Memorial Pool?
I'm gonna let Angela answer that question. She's been heavily involved with that.
So we'll continuously look at the allocation. And with the aquatic center, there's a lot more programming that's going to be occurring there. So when we look at Memorial Pool, we'll be looking at the operational levels there as well. But the anticipation is that most of our aquatics activity is going to be at the aquatic center, whether that's swim lessons, open swim. So we will be watching that, and we will be having regular reports to look at the true ups, make sure that we are aligned with the neutrality of making sure that the city is not bearing the costs of bringing that forward. And you might see an adjustment too, where we need to move it to 80% PFD. So we'll be looking at that regularly.
Thank you much.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, Ms. Pashon, just to follow up, would you define what is an aquatics manager? Is that somebody who's just managing the swimming or the whole facility, or?
Oh, you have the whole thing, right? So you've got programming, you're ensuring that you're maintaining your lifeguards and all the risk and compliance that goes along with it. So there's a lot of pieces that go into managing a facility. So I don't think just pool manager, think the entire center.
Okay.
You're running a large operation with probably 100 plus, and then all of the individuals in there. So there's a lot of components that go in there, making sure policies are being followed, we're hitting the compliance marks. So there's a lot that goes into it, not just monitoring the pool.
Okay. And thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure, because really I think that this is important, where I know under Memorial Pool it was just kind of, I guess, kind of a catch-all under the Parks and Recreation Department. So I'll be honest with you, I really, and for some of the concerns Councilmember Perales has previously brought up in the past, appreciate somebody dedicated to just that. That's, again, not just a catch-all of the Parks and Rec Department. And just kind of reading down here into the staff recommendation and talking points here, that it looks like this is going to technically create a 0.70 employee, but yet it looks like somebody from Parks and Rec is going to backfill that, so it remains cost neutral, if I'm understanding that correctly. It says...
Are you looking at page, let's see here, 4?
It's under general fund cost neutrality. I'm not even sure.
So what that provides is you take one FTE and make sure that we are funding the necessary split for the city portion.
Yep.
So it's not going to take up necessarily the whole 1.5 or 1.0 FTE, but that's also providing some flexibility to ensure that if a person gets brought in a little higher than your entry level step, you have that flexibility to make sure that you still have those funds.
Okay. No, very good. Thank you. Anybody have anything else? Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance number 4821, establishing a special revenue fund for the Pasco Public Facilities District Tax Fund and creating a new chapter 3.270 Aquatic Center Fund in the Pasco Municipal Code, and further authorize publication by summary only.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Milne, seconded by Councilmember Perales. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance number 4822, amending the 2025-2026 biennial operating budget, which was ordinance number 4749, by providing supplement thereto to provide additional appropriation in the city's funds, and further authorize publication by summary only.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem to adopt ordinance number 4822, amending the biennial operating budget, seconded by Councilmember Perales. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Letter D, resolution number 4709, Public Works Board, $3.5 million loan grant agreement, Lewis Street underpass demolition. This is Director. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Pasco Council meeting. The council thanks you for being a part of your city government. At meetings, the council takes formal action on items, holds public hearings, and conducts other business of the city. Agenda packets are available on the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov/agenda. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV, channel 191 on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamed on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and Microsoft Teams webinar. This and previous council meeting video is available on the city's website. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and or questions by contacting the city manager, city clerk, or by using the Ask Pasco app. Madam Clerk, if you would take the roll.
Councilmember Campos.
Here.
Cotta.
Here.
Figueroa.
Present.
Hernandez.
Present.
Perales.
Here.
Milne.
Present.
Grimm.
I am here.
7 council members present.
Thank you, ma'am. If everyone would please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to number 4, the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by a roll call vote as one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If further discussion is desired by council members, the item may be removed from the consent agenda to the regular agenda and considered separately. Letter A, approval of meeting minutes for February 23rd and March 2nd. B, bills and communications approving claims in the total amount of $3,189,374.42. C, resolution number 3712, interlocal agreement between participating jurisdictions and the City of Pasco for involvement in the Special Investigations Unit. Letter D, resolution number 3713, Broadmoor TIF area amendment number 6 with PBS for engineering services. Is there any member of council who would like to remove one of these items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second. We have a motion on the floor by the Mayor Pro Tem to approve the consent agenda as read, seconded by Councilmember Perales. Madam Clerk, if we can get a roll call.
Figueroa.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Perales.
Yes.
Campos.
Yes.
Cotta.
Yes.
Milne.
Yes.
Grimm.
Yes.
It's
thank you.
unanimous.
5, proclamations and acknowledgements, none listed. Number 6, public comments. The public may address council on any items unless it relates to a scheduled public hearing. This item is provided to allow the opportunity to bring items to the attention of the City Council or to express an opinion on an issue. Its purpose is not to provide a venue for debate or the posing of questions with the expectation of an immediate response. Some questions require consideration by the council over time and after a deliberative process with input from a number of different sources. Some questions are best directed to staff members who have access to specific information. Citizen comments will normally be limited to 3 minutes each. Those with lengthy messages are invited to summarize their comments and or submit written information for council or for consideration, by the council outside of formal meetings. Lastly, when called upon, please state your name and city or county residency into the microphone before providing your comments. Public comments is now open for anybody who would like to address the council. Ms. Bashan, is anybody online?
Double check for it. I do not see anyone online, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much. And we did receive an email, I think, probably went to all of us earlier this afternoon that I didn't get a chance to look at from Ms. Cooper in regard to data centers and other thing. And please know that I will at least read that. And if it went to everybody, I'm sure they will too. And we will address that as we can. Moving on to number 8, I guess, seeing no one still come forward, I guess we waited a while there. Let me just make sure, I just really want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak if they do. Anybody else want to come forward? Seeing no one, okay, we will close public comments. Number 7, reports from committees and or officers. Anyone from council want to talk about what they did this week? Councilmember Campos.
Yeah, I had some great meetings this week. One of them was with the Tri-City Regional Chamber. Met with them, talked about some just economic development and kind of like how we can just continue to grow in that. And so I had a great conversation with staff also on Wednesday. Had a very cool tour at the Emergency Operations Center. So met the Franklin County Emergency Management staff there, and it was amazing to see all the collaboration that will take place in a situation like that. And we have all these entities that will come together and just collaborate together. And it was just a really great thing to sense of the unity and making sure that everybody's on the same page and everything. So I really love that. And then we had some great time with our departments here at the city, and they gave us very knowledgeable stuff about what they do. They really do work a lot, so we appreciate that as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Councilmember Figueroa.
Yeah, just to go off with that, so it was HR and finance part of the departmental briefing, so that's been really good to kind of go through all the departments the city kind of operates and see how each department is operating, their efforts that they're working through with the resources and being responsibly with the resources they do have, and how to continue to support the organization and the community at large. Additionally, one of the coolest experiences this week was being able to, alongside Councilmember Perales and some city staff members, to meet with Romar Torres and his foundation. For those of you who don't know, Romar Torres is a Seattle Sounders and international Panamanian soccer legend. And if anybody knows, I'm a soccer person. So that was a pretty cool experience to kind of get to meet him and his foundation and just explore different opportunities for collaboration within the city and his foundation, and also just for hopefully an academy site that they're possibly looking into, and just ways to continue public-private partnerships so we can expand youth opportunities. So that's really exciting. Along with Council Member Hernandez as well, we also had some time to go downtown and speak and listen to some downtown business owners and leaders in our community. Again, that's one of the biggest things for me, is building that relationship and credibility and trust so that we can have a thriving downtown. So we just kind of listened to some of their suggestions, some of the things that they're bringing back up, and see how we can work together. So
awesome. Good job, everybody. Councilmember Hernandez.
I was going to say I was also invited to that meeting, the downtown business, some downtown business owners, and yeah, it was a great time. We listened. They have some great ideas, and hopefully we can collaborate to make them happen.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, and I also attended both of those kind of in-house meetings. Really kind of almost orientation on finance and human resources. And again, I enjoyed both of those. I appreciate staff. Mr. Hebden himself opening up his home in the Washington conference room, and just introducing himself in a more personal way, and some of his staff and everything, letting us know what they do, and just really appreciate them trying to build that bridge. The Mayor Pro Tem and I were just in our quarterly left meeting, monthly left meeting. Just trying to work through those things. I was also attended the Benton Franklin Transit meeting this last Thursday, where pretty much routine. However, for those that don't know, I think most everybody does know, though, our CEO, Mr. Drost, has been on administrative leave the last couple months pending investigation, and that investigation is supposed to wrap up within the next couple weeks, and we'll probably get the results of that investigation this coming month at our next meeting and go from there. And then I had the pleasure of joining Chief Crowley and our city manager this afternoon to push a brand new fire truck into Station 82 there, and just I really appreciate it. It's actually, this fire truck is the one they use actually out on the airport, so it's part of the Port of Pasco, but excuse me, but yeah, our firefighters are the ones that staff it. Everything. So it's great to see that collaboration out there and everything like that. And of course, a lot of fun letting my 3-year-old push in this enormous fire truck and doing that. So anyways, thank you to Station 82 and everybody else for hosting all of us for that. Let's keep moving on, everybody. Number 8, hearings and council action on ordinances, resolutions relating thereto. We're going to start with letter A. We're going to have a public hearing. This is ordinance number 4817 for a moratorium on essential public facilities, the secure community transition facilities we've heard so much about. And we're going to start the evening off with our city manager. Good evening, Mr. Stewart.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of council. As required by state law with the action that the council took previously in instituting the moratorium, you're required to hold a public hearing. So we're doing that this evening so you comply with state law. So you can accept any comments. This should be limited only to the moratorium though. This isn't talking about the ordinances on LRAs or anything like that. This public hearing is specific to the moratorium itself. So the public can offer comment of whether or not they agree or disagree with whether or not the moratorium should have been put into place and taken action by the council.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so yes, public comment should stay to just the moratorium that we imposed at our last regular council meeting. And of course, this is the less restrictive alternative housing, the one that sprang up in Kennewick and was they eventually pulled back from, and I think the community is largely celebrating that. So we voted on here a moratorium, really to buy 6 months to engage with the community, to get community feedback, and to come up with a way of dealing with these. Because whether we like them or not, the state is imposing their will upon us and these unfunded mandates of really having us care for their predators, if I can say it that way. So anyways, with that said, we are going to open this public hearing. If anyone would like to speak, make a public comment on less restrictive alternative housing, or at least just our moratorium of, please come to the podium. And second call. Third and final call for anybody wanting to speak up on this public hearing regarding our moratorium on LRA's essential public facilities. Ms. Bashan, has anybody signed up online?
They have not.
Thank you. We will close this public hearing. Thank you. Moving on, number 9, ordinances and resolutions not relating to hearings. This, however, is a quasi-judicial ordinance number 4823, amending the zoning classification for certain real property located north of West Agate Street, south of West Pearl Street, west of North 6th Avenue, and east of North 5th Avenue in Pasco, Franklin County, Washington, from C1 to R1. Low density residential. And Mr. Daniel, did you want to start us off?
Yes, please. Thank you for the opportunity. As you did in your workshop, I'm just going to quickly run through the appearance of fairness disclosures prior to your deliberations on this matter. And so prior to commencing deliberations, all council members should consider whether they have potential conflicts as follows: a demonstrated bias for or against any of the parties, any direct or indirect financial interest in the outcome of the proceeding which would affect the council members personally, whether there has been any prejudgment of the issues prior to hearing the facts, whether there has been any ex parte contact with anyone other than staff prior to this hearing, and any other conflict which a council member believes would prevent them from hearing this matter fairly and impartially. So at this time, if any council member has any of these concerns or disclosures, now would be the time to make them known and on the record. And if so, please state your concern or disclosure. Anyone?
Not seeing any, sir.
Okay, well, that will end that. Thank you for your time.
And is the public, they have an opportunity to disqualify us also, don't they, sir?
They typically would. There was no disclosures made, and so there wouldn't be anything to object to, but we can certainly ask if anybody has seeking any disqualification of a member of council from participating in these proceedings.
Same from public? Not seeing any either, sir.
Thank you.
All right, very good. We are going to Ms. Mattson. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. So tonight we have a closed meeting to consider a rezone proposal, as mentioned in the workshop yesterday. So there's no public hearing or public component required for this. And the application has followed all of the appropriate requirements for the initial zoning petition, and the hearing examiner process was held. The hearing examiner meeting was held on December 10th, and staff has verified that all the procedural requirements have been met. Tonight, the proposal for council is to consider approving a rezone of the parcel shown on the screen, and it's that pink rectangle there shown on the screen. And this is located at 1734 North 5th Avenue. And this is a parcel that is zoned commercial. You can see the yellow zones around it. The existing houses are zoned residential. So this was a church property. It's now vacant. So the commercial designation must have been carried over from a previous use, or maybe a property owner previously wanted to keep it as commercial. And so the new request is to go ahead and zone it residential, which would match nicely with all of the other uses, and hopefully the site would develop with a residential use pretty soon and remove the vacancy and coincide with the properties nearby. So staff is recommending approval. The hearing examiner is recommending approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have related to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mattson. Anybody have any questions? All right, not seeing any. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance number 4823, amending the zoning classification of certain real property located north of West Agate Street, south of West Pearl Street, west of 6th Avenue, and east of 5th North Avenue in Pasco, Franklin County, Washington, from C1 to R1, and further authorize publication by summary only.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Perales to adopt ordinance number 4823. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on, letter B, ordinance number 4824, amending Pasco Municipal Code 3.35.160 and 13.45.060 related to water rights. And this is the Deputy City Manager. Is she online? Thank you. Good evening, Ms.
Yes. Can you hear me, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am. You're a little quiet.
How about now?
I'm good. Okay. My wife doesn't think I have good hearing, but I can hear you, Ms. Sigdale.
Perfect. This is an item that we discussed last week. Essentially, council had taken action back in November of 2023 and subsequently in June of 2024, where we had made significant changes to our water rights codes. And next slide, please. And there was a good reason for us to do this, because water rights is a very important issue for all cities, especially growing cities. And it's a separate issue from land ownership. And we went through all of this. And please stop me as I'm going through these slides if you have any questions. But what I want to make clear is that there's limits to water, even as you see a big river and a couple of rivers going through our community. So we need to have the right to draw that water, and that right is given to us by the state of Washington. What is critical for us as a growing city is our economic development really relies on adequate water rights, and with that, growth as well. Next slide, please. The reason that council made some actions in 2023 and 2024 is because we had made some exemptions as we were growing as a city, especially for commercial and industrial, which essentially meant that if you were coming to the city of Pasco and you were opening a commercial or industrial business, regardless of how much water right your business required, you did not have to provide that water right to the city. And so we'd been drawing down on that banked water right quite a bit in the last 20 years. Similarly, our water right in lieu fee had not changed. So it was $1,725 per acre foot. And in the 2023-2024 decision, we increased that after our study that was done to more of the market price of 4,150 acre foot. So what it created is an arbitrage opportunity for developers. So essentially, if you're planning to develop a piece of property with residential, and you had water right, you could sell it. You could transfer it and sell it out in the market for much more money than what you would have to pay to the city as an in lieu fee. So those were the things that we were trying to solve back in that period. Next slide, please. we have some issues within our water rights. How Department of Ecology views our water rights is in 4 different systems. And you will see what is authorized and then what is used. And you will see our system C, where we're using more than what is authorized. And so that's an issue that we're trying to solve with Department of Ecology. Part of it is we're trying to be creative on what we can do as a municipal agency, which provides us with hopefully different rights than an individual. So we're working that angle and partnering really well with Department of Ecology. But also at the same time, we recognize that we need to acquire more water rights pretty soon. Next slide, please. Next slide. So overall, in 2023, the ordinance changes was the fee was increased to $4,150 per acre foot. Commercial and industrial exemptions were removed, and 50% surcharge for rights that were removed from the property within the last 10 years. And essentially what that means is in November 2023, and looking back to 10 years from that, if anybody moved water from that land that is to be developed, then they would not just pay the $4,150, but they would pay a 50% surcharge on top of that $4,150. Next slide, please. And then in 2024, council, there were a lot of new council members, and you created a council subcommittee. And what we ended up doing is, instead of doing the look back to 10 years, we just made that look back as active of the passage of 2023 ordinance, so basically November. So moving forward in the city of Pasco, anytime you move water right from one land to another, starting November 2023, if you move that water right away, then you're not just paying $4,150 for in lieu fees, but $4,150 times 1.5. Our question to council was, next slide, please. Our question to council was, does the grandfathering apply to, there was a direction from council verbally of grandfathering preliminary plats that were approved, essentially plats that are considered complete. And what we didn't ask is, does it apply to all aspects, which is commercial and industrial? And does it apply to the 50% surcharge if the water rights are transferred? And we discussed this with council last week, and the direction that we received was that just the 50% surcharge, just the fee is to be grandfathered. So let me be clear. Just the fee, which was $1,725 per acre feet, to be grandfathered. And if anybody moves water from that land, let's say, then after November, then that would not, they would still have to pay that 50% surcharge. So the 50% surcharge is not grandfathered. If they are commercial or industrial, their fees are still grandfathered, so $1,725 if they were, they had preliminary plats approved. But they would not be fully exempt, as in it would not be zero. So the ordinance in front of you accounts for all of that. And we're looking for your action on this matter. And with that, I'm open for any questions you might have.
All righty. Thank you, Ms. Sigdell. Councilmember Prowse, you and I were on the subcommittee. I'll speak too. Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot to say. I think we've talked about this a couple times already. So no, this is just a code cleanup, and totally in support of this. I mean, the last meeting we talked about this, it was pretty exhaustive. So nope, I'm in favor of voting this in tonight.
Perfect. That's where I'm at too. Anybody else? Not seeing any. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance number 4824, amending PMC section 3.35.160, water utility, adjusting the water rights acquisition fee, and section 13.45.060, assignment of water rights, extension of city water surfaces beyond city limits of the Pasco Municipal Code, and further authorized publication by summary only.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, for your motion, seconded by Councilmember Perales to amend number 4824 of the PMC. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Moving on, letter C, resolution number 3711, Franklin County Conservation District Annexation and Shrub Step Mitigation, ILA. We are back to you, Ms. Sigdell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This action is two parts. One is annexation, a request for annexation into the Conservation District itself. As we discussed last week, the Conservation District desires for the city to be part of the district before they would like to move forward with any interlocal agreements on the shrub step mitigation. And we talked about the benefits and the impacts of being part of the Conservation District last week, which is essentially there are some things that we're getting for free, like water rights, technical assistance, and as the city moves forward, just talked about water rights, more of those applications will be going through that the Conservation District will help with. There's also the salmon education program within the school district that is getting impacted that the city being annexed into the Conservation District would help with. So there's some benefits to it. Also, heritage gardens, as we talk about conservation of water. The challenge or the impact is every household, essentially every parcel at the city of Pasco will pay at least $5 and then 10 cents per additional acre. So our average was around $5.03 annually. And this is an amount that our Pasco residents would see in their property tax bill. So $5.03 in average per year. You have multiple options, so I'm just going to kind of go through all of it. You can reject the annexation and direct staff to work with the Conservation District on the ILA. We recognize that their desire is to be annexed into the city, but we can go back and have that discussion with them again. You can approve the annexation and reject the ILA. Not recommended, because I think that's something that the ILA would really help with streamlining development within the city of Pasco. Reject both the annexation and the ILA. What that would do is, again, a loss of some of the programs like the heritage gardens and then expanded educational programming within the school district and other programs. But also, we will not get the shrub step mitigation agreement either. And that would basically mean that the developers would have to carry out individual contracts with the Conservation District or find their own piece of land to conserve that meets the Fish and Wildlife regulations and requirements, or find some other land trust in the region to meet that requirement. And with that, I'm open to any questions you might have.
Does anybody from council have any questions or comments for the deputy city manager or comments on this? Okay, I'm going to come out. I guess I'll probably be the outlier here and in the minority. I'm going to be a no vote, and I want to say that I see the huge value from the development community on this streamlining their process and what they do. I believe this is another unfunded mandate by the state being pushed upon the cities, and the biggest outcry I hear from people right now is their property tax bill. And though this is very minor, it's just $5 minimum and a little bit more on it. The overwhelming outcry I hear from constituents is no more property taxes. And it's really just for that reason I'm going to be a no tonight, even if I'm in the minority. Councilmember Figueroa.
I think for me, the way that I look at it is that the FCD would be able to provide the resources to all the residents within the city, regardless of where they live. And I think that's really important. Because as we heard the presentation many times, the biggest question is where exactly do you live? And that kind of dictates whether they can help support them or not. And then the other part is for me is the educational outreach efforts that will be reinstated back into our school district. I think that's really important. It was, if I remember correctly, it was one of my memorable kind of scenarios that I was able to kind of go through it. So I think that's really important to continue the good stewardship of natural resources as well. It's important that we have that for our kids. So that would be the way that I would look at it.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilmember Cotta.
Yeah, I'm going to be a yes, although I understand, increasing taxes, even though a small amount is a difficult thing, but it sounds like an investment. The development community, we heard from the president of the chamber last week in favor of this, and it helps streamline getting businesses into our community, which we know, helps relieve the tax burden if we can get more businesses in the city of Pasco. And so I hopefully we end up coming out on the better end of that in the end. But we need more firepower. We need more tax revenue coming into the city, and we need more businesses to do that. And so there's an opportunity to help them.
Very good. Not seeing anybody else. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve resolution number 3711, approving a petition for the inclusion of the incorporated city of Pasco territory into the Franklin Conservation District.
Second. Motion on the floor by Mr. Mayor Pro Tem to approve resolution number 3711, seconded by Councilmember Perales. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Nay. Motion carries. Letter
Mayor,
D. Oh, Ms.
I
Sigdell.
yes, I do apologize for this oversight. There was supposed to be another resolution regarding authorization of
The ILA.
the ILA itself. I do apologize for that exclusion. Is there any way we can put that in?
Of course there is.
Have a
I can
quick
have the Mayor Pro Tem. Would you be willing to make a resolution to also approve the ILA, to approve the interlocal agreement with the Franklin County Conservation District? Is there Ms. Sigdell, is there a resolution number to go along with that?
You just need a motion to approve the ILA.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Daniel.
All right, well then I make a motion to approve the ILA and working with the Franklin Conservation District.
Second. Thank you. Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Milne to approve an ILA with the Franklin County Conservation District, seconded by Councilmember Perales. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right,
Thank you.
moving on. Letter D, resolution number 3714, authorizing the city manager to execute purchase and sale agreement to purchase Franklin County parcel number 124710063. And Ms. Sigdell, 3 in a row to you.
Yes, I am going to pass this on. Our environmental compliance manager, Michael Hanau, who is within our public works department, should be there, who has been doing all of the work with his director, Maria Serra, regarding this issue. So I'm going to pass the presentation on to him.
Thank you. He is here and ready to take the reins.
All right. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. As said before, I'm Michael Hanau, Environmental Compliance Manager here at the City of Pasco. And I'm here to talk about the opportunity to increase the land treatment system at the processed water reuse facility. Perfect. So before I get into the benefits of that and other items, I want to talk about the location. So here in this map, everything that you see in blue is part of the processed water reuse facility. Everything you see that has a little circle with the number, that's part of the land treatment system. The part in yellow, that is the parcel that we are talking about. One thing I want everybody to note is that west of the parcel, that area in blue, that's area that is part of the PWR Phase 4 project. So I want everybody to remember that little detail because that's going to come back in a few minutes. So here we have historical values of land near the parcel. The initial asking price was $2.4 million, and the city was able to negotiate that down to $2.25 million. So I want to mention some of the benefits of including this parcel into the land treatment system. The cost to develop a circle or a half circle ranges between 1.5 to $6 million. And that is going to be dependent on the distance of that parcel to the main facility or to other pump stations. As I mentioned before, the parcel is adjacent to the land that's part of the Phase 4 project. That land is going to become a half circle, and it will be part of the land treatment system, meaning that during the project, we're installing lines that are going to bring reused water, that are going to bring well water, and there's going to be a pivot installed in the half circle. Adding the parcel will increase the value of the PWRF Phase 4 project, because instead of having a half circle, we're going to have a full circle. Other benefits. As everybody knows, the city just completed major upgrades at the reuse facility to support the growth of local industries. So now we have the ability to remove BOD, TSS, nitrogen. But with the growth of the industries, there's also a lot of water. There's a lot of volume of that flow. And to be able to manage that flow, we use the land treatment system. Currently, the land treatment system has 1,900 acres, and we need just over 2,400 acres to be able to support the future growth of the processors. After Phase 4, the land treatment system is going to increase, so it's going to add an additional 164 acres. If we were to include this parcel as part of the land treatment system, we're going to have an additional 225 acres, meaning that the total land treatment system after Phase 4 is completed will be 2,125 acres. It's not quite to the goal of the 2,400 acres, but it's getting us there because the industries are also growing slowly with the city. As mentioned earlier, the original asking price was $2.4 million. The city was able to negotiate that down to $2.25 million. And at this point, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody on council have a question or comment for Mr. Michael? Councilmember Cotta.
This is a tough question, but obviously the spot, the location here is highly desirable because it's connected to the rest of the property. Do you have a ballpark assessment of how much more this would cost if we put it somewhere else? I know that depends on where it is, but even if it's just relatively mile distance away, what does that do to us in regard to a cost of managing that property?
Sure, that's a good question. So if the property were to be, let's see, like a mile away, 2 miles away, and it's not adjacent to the land treatment system, at that point, what we range, the cost that we estimated, it could be between $2 to $6 million to be able to develop that land into the land treatment system. As you mentioned earlier, there's many factors. It's the distance to the main part of the system, but also the proximity to other pump stations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. So this is a highly desirable piece of land for us.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Cotta. And I think kind of where you're going with that, yes, it's a lot of money per acre for this, but I think, yeah, it is ideally situated for the needs of the PWRF. Does anybody have anything else? All right, Mr. Michael, I think you're off the hook. Thank you for your presentation, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve resolution number 3714, authorizing the purchase of Franklin County parcel number 124710063, and further authorize the city manager to execute the closing documents.
Second that. We have a motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Milne, seconded by Councilmember Perales to approve resolution number 3714. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Letter E, resolution number 3715, setting a public hearing to consider granting NFC Northwest LLC, and this is Director Sarah. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This next item is a regulatory compliance item. We manage franchises within the right-of-way, and that is companies use the right-of-way to provide service to our community. In this case, it's a fiber optic company associated with Sipley, and one of the requirements is to have a public hearing prior to approving a new franchise within the city of Pasco. So the item tonight is just to set the date and the time for that public hearing to take place. And you've done something very similar last year or earlier this year maybe with Fat Beam. This will be very, very similar, but the company in this case is NFC Northwest LLC. The proposed time and date is 7 p.m. on April 6, 2026, which would be a regular council meeting. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Director Sarah? Seeing none, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve resolution number 3715, setting 7 p.m. April 6, 2026 as the time and date for a public hearing to consider a fiber optic franchise with NFC Northwest LLC.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Milne to approve resolution number 3715, seconded by Councilmember Perales. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Letter F, resolution number 3716, acceptance of work for Court Street and Road 68 intersection improvements. Director Sarah, we are back to you, ma'am.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council members. This time we're asking for your acceptance of the work performed by Ellison Earthworks LLC for the construction of the roundabout at the intersection of Road 68 and Court Street. And if we advance the slide, we'll have some pictures of the before and after, which we all love to see. Some notes regarding the project. This was a safety-focused project. It eliminated an intersection. There was stop control in one direction, and it had a high rate of crashes, mostly on the left turn, taking either from Court onto 68 or from 68 onto Court Street. It is now built with a roundabout. The flow of traffic has improved. We did an analysis to evaluate whether the roundabout or a signal would be the better solution for this location, and a roundabout serve the current volumes and future volumes better. So that's how we landed in this solution. The bid award for this project was at just over $2.6 million, but the work was completed with minimal change orders, and the overall reconciliation change order for this project actually was a credit. So the overall construction contract ended up being at $2.4 million, and I'm rounding. So just $200,000 under the bid award. And the contractor has met all the requirements of the contract, and with that we are ready to accept their work and be able to release retainage. The project was funded through federal and state funding, a combination of safety grants from different sources, and the Transportation Improvement Board funding that supports transportation improvements within the Washington state. And this is a great success story for our city, combining funding, having small dollar amount that is local, that is leveraged by federal and state dollars, and ultimately providing a safer intersection for our users. Okay, and with that, I'm happy to answer questions you may have on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Mayor Pro Tem Milne.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have a question, but I do have a thank you. I travel this twice a day on work days, and it's been nice. Had a couple times where people pulled out and I was coming and they thought it was like a four-way, and so one time I had to go into the oncoming lane, and luckily there was not a car, but I always feel safe. It's very well. Not sure on the art of the rocks, but hey, it is what it is. At least there's no weeds. But again, zero escaping, yes. But give the staff a good thank you for doing such a well project, and I like it a lot. So again, thank you. I much appreciated.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Mine are similar, Director Sarah. I mean, that was obviously one of the most dangerous intersections in Pasco, if not one of the most in the entire Tri-Cities. And so, yeah, this was really, really needed. I mean, there's a lot of signage out there, and I'm sure some of that's probably required with some of the grants we receive and everything like that. But no, I do think that, yeah, I mean, it's not the most desirable looking landscaping, but sure going to keep people from trying to drive over it. And, you know, as my wife would say, It's going to police itself out there. So yeah, no, really appreciate that. And thank you to you and your team accomplishing that. I think that is a real win for the city, as you bragged about, especially this coalition of different funds we were able to achieve. So thank you. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, let's close it out.
All right, I appreciate that. I move to approve resolution number 3716, accepting work performed by Ellison Earthworks LLC of Pasco, Washington, under contract for the Court Street and Road 68 intersection improvement project.
I'll second that.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Milne to approve resolution number 3716, seconded by Councilmember Perales. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Number 10, unfinished business, not seeing any this evening. Number 11, new business, not seeing any this evening. Number 12, miscellaneous discussion. Going to start with our city manager, Mr. Stewart.
Yes, a few things. This will probably be a little bit lengthier than it normally is, but some important matters to discuss here. First and foremost, I did want to note one change with regards to my city manager memo and my Court Street update. And I've been committing here for the last couple of months that this will be brought back to council in March for further discussion. Since the drafting of the memo, I had a request from Mayor Pro Tem Milne and the mayor to postpone that to April. Mr. Milne will be out of town for a little bit and I want to be able to represent his district in that conversation. So I did. We'll bring that back as soon as Mayor Pro Tem Milne is back in town and on the dais. But staff is still prepared to have that conversation with the council and the public. So I did want to note that change. I also want to take a brief moment and thank Mr. Armand, who's served as our IT director. We discussed it at a recent meeting that he's tendered his resignation to return to be with family in Texas. And so we will miss him. And we will begin the process to find someone else to fill that position. But he's done a lot of great work in rebuilding our IT team and creating a good culture there, that they enjoy working there, and we want to continue to keep that going forward. I did have a few updates here. We do have some meetings from our police department throughout the community. There will be two on March 19th. One will be at 2 p.m. This will be District 1's Business Watch meeting, and it'll be held at the Red Lion Hotel over by the airport. They will also have a meeting at 6 p.m. with regards to District 2's community meeting. That will be in the police department's community room. And then on March 24th at 1 p.m., there'll be the District 2's Business Watch meeting, also held at the police department's community room. I did want to give a little bit of reminder that as spring arrives, we're seeing a lot of vendors popping up throughout the community, particularly at some of the intersections, vending different items and goods and fruits and those kinds of things. It is allowed in state law for them to sell fresh fruits and those kinds of things, but we would like to remind those that are doing that to still abide by Washington state laws, make sure that you're abiding by private property rights and those kinds of things, and leaving our public rights of way, including our sidewalks, accessible for people as they're traveling through those areas. Just a public reminder on that. Also, earlier we had the public hearing with regards to the moratorium. I did want to give council an update. We had committed to having a series of public input sessions throughout the community to hear any concerns of the community before staff begins working on developing any ordinance changes. We've been working with the school district to try and locate those meetings within the school districts, because those are close to neighborhoods and those kinds of things. And so I just wanted to give an update to council, and then if you have any additions or other concerns that you would like, we would have some time to schedule additional meetings. But we're looking at one meeting on March 31st. That would be at Isaac Stevens Middle School. Another meeting would be held on April 15th at Ochoa Middle School. Although we are looking at potentially moving that one to Reynolds Middle School. And then we're looking at one on April 29th at the McLaughlin Middle School. And then our final one would be on May 6th here at the Pasco City Council Chambers. All these meetings, with the exception of the Pasco City Hall meeting, would be from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. So we're scheduling 2 hours in the evening, kind of as people get off work. The Pasco City Hall meeting would be over the noon hour for people to participate, and that would also have a virtual option for people to participate. Anyway, so that's the update on that. I guess I wanted to touch base with council, make sure that those locations were enough, and if the 4 meetings were enough, or if you would like additional meetings in addition to that.
Councilmember Perales.
I would say that's an appropriate number of meetings. Looking forward to attending a few of those.
I concur. I think that's a great effort to outreach to the community and everything like that also. Anybody have anything else in regard to that?
Okay, well, we'll move forward with that. We'll get some more information out on our website and our social media, inviting people to those, and we definitely appreciate the partnership of the Pasco School District and opening up the schools that we could use those close to neighborhoods. Finally, I want to turn some time over to Ms. Sigdale and talk about our community survey that we've been working on and get final input from the council with regards to that before we put it out live to the citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart, and evening council. We sent you a link to the draft version of this survey as well, and have received some feedback. What I would like to do is go through the survey, assume that you've kind of looked at some of the questions, but explain the survey a little bit. The city has been doing surveys every other year, a community survey. This year is a little bit new. We are partnering with On Point Insights, and they have some fantastic dashboards that provide data in a manner that is very actionable. So it's very easy to look into which areas of in our residents are desiring something specific. So for example, if you're seeing a lot of desire for parks from a specific district, it might mean that there's less parks in that area. Also going down to demographics of women, children, or parents with children, those kinds of things. So very actionable information that On Point provides. You can go and look at the same information. West Richland in the region has also used On Point Insights and has their dashboard out there, their survey results. The goal is to do this every 2 years or every 3 years, whatever council decides, but essentially ask similar questions so that you have a baseline, so that you're not changing the questions on a regular basis, because that changes. You really do not know what how people answered 2-3 years ago, and then how they're answering that same question now. So just something to keep in mind. The reason that we do community survey, next slide please, is because we really want to understand our residents' priorities for strategic planning. So the timeline of how we do surveys is essentially we do the community survey, we do community listening sessions, we get into our goal setting and planning, and essentially the people's voices come through to what council's goals are, and then staff takes those goals and then works to implement those goals. It also helps us to get reliable and unbiased data instead of making assumptions. We are always making assumptions with certain lenses and experiences that are our own. So it gives us some clear data on what our residents are wanting. Next slide, please. Our goal with the survey that has always been, which is to guide our strategic plans. And it's not just the council goals, but what does our facility plans look like? What does parks and a park plan should look like? If there's parks missing in certain neighborhoods that we discover via the survey, it will inspire for us to look a little bit deeper during our park facilities plan. And also, as you notice, there are certain questions that you can ask that are unique to each survey cycle. So you can also do that to gauge certain reactions to new proposals. For example, at one point, I believe a couple of times, city has asked for, I'm looking for, trying to find my word, for approval for marijuana moratorium, lifting of marijuana moratorium in the past in this survey. So it helps council understand what people are thinking out there in the community, and then also over time monitor resident satisfaction and trust. Next slide, please. So with OnPoint, they're nationally recognized for their intuitive dashboards, as I mentioned. What they how they have done their surveys is using methodology that has been refined by their work with Fortune 500 companies. And why that is important to state is because it's not just a survey to take and shelf. It is a survey that is used to make business decisions, and that is how they came to create surveys for local governments that we think would be really valuable for the city of Pasco. Because at the end of the day, while we're a nonprofit, we also have to have good business mindset to provide the services that our residents desire. And they have grown very quickly. They've been used by more than 50 cities in the last 2 years. And that really speaks to the quality of the product that they're providing that was maybe lacking in the local government realm in the past. Next slide, please. It is a simple 10-minute survey, which is super important because even once you get to 8 minutes, people start abandoning the survey. It has to be very accessible, which means different things nowadays. One is mobile accessible. Many people might not have a computer, but most people will have a phone. It is anonymous and secure, and then also multi-language options are available. We're also going to be translating directly to Spanish, so that's going to be a native translation. And then we're going to rely on features like Google Translate for the rest of the languages. Next slide, please. Our goal is to have at least 1,000 to 1,500 responses before we can trust the results. But our goal is to get a lot more than that. Like I mentioned earlier, there's filters by geography and demographics that will give us a perspective that somebody with who's an empty nester might have very different priorities than somebody who has 2-3 kids. So we'll be able to see that. And also, what this survey does that is very unique and very valuable is that it doesn't just ask you what's important to you, it asks you to prioritize them. And so it does a little bit of the resource management that council and staff has to deal with. Next slide, please. So for us, again, prioritizing investments, our survey takers will already do that for us to a large extent. And then identifying expectations versus where we're not meeting those expectations. And then we will have this year round. So we can continue, keep this survey open and be able to see any changes. Next slide. And as I mentioned, there's some very specific questions. There's standard questions that would be part of ongoing every 2 years. That would be essentially a baseline set of questions that we want to really not want to change moving forward as much as possible. But then there's the one-time questions that you want to ask that's going to help you gauge resident sentiments. So one of the questions that we're asking, that we're recommending asking is, are you satisfied with what you pay in property taxes and the services that you're receiving? And there is a specific reason for this, and I can speak from my finance hat, is that people do not really know where their property taxes go. So if you really think mechanically how most people pay their property taxes, they might not even know that they pay it to the county. We actually get a lot of calls about people's property taxes. And the reason for that is because it usually gets held in an escrow and your mortgage company pays for that. So people are kind of isolated from where that money goes. People might think it just goes to the school district. They might think it just goes all to the city and we dole it out. So people do not really know who takes the money and where it goes. Further, if they know how much they're paying in property taxes outside of their mortgage, they might not know how much of that total is going to each individual organizations, like for school district or the state school fund or the city or the county. And so what we want to do is for people to be educated about where their tax dollars are going, and then to give us feedback on whether they're feeling like they're getting worth their money. And so we're asking very specifically and trying to educate most of the community here on what a City of Pasco resident pays in property taxes. Again, the assessed valuation for homes varies. You can go from, I'm going to say $200,000, but it's hard to find homes in that price line anymore. But you can go anywhere from $200,000 to $2 million. So we're trying to get to a standard that people then can calculate their home value and then come to how much property taxes they're paying to the city. Next slide, please. Then this is the key question. As we look in the next 9 months, we have an obligation to build a budget that is balanced. And we've been using reserves to balance our budget so far. And what this question is designed for is to ask our residents on what their desire is on how we fund, how we take those next actions, which is no tax increase. So we might have to cut some city services because again, we're using current reserves to provide current services. So that is a for sure scenario. A small tax increase, which would still create some reductions, but not significant. A moderate tax increase, which is going to create some, maintains most of the service level, but probably will need to make some adjustments. And then a larger tax increase, which would be keeping all of the current service levels, but then also making additional investments. Next slide, please. There's also some questions that we've been talking about, and we're more than happy to add and remove any of these projects here. Just asking community to prioritize some of the funding. So in all of this, if we look at HAPO, our trail systems, regional park, Road 76 overpass, what are the projects, if we had limited amount of money, which we do, what would you prioritize as most important for your household? Next slide, please. Our key message, our communications team has a whole communications plan. The message is really for our community to help us guide the budget, for them to provide their voice so they can see that in action, that we are making decisions that are data driven and are coming straight from our community, and also the fact that it is easy, that they don't even have to join in to a council meeting or come into the council chambers. They can take this easy, quick survey anywhere where 10 minutes allows, and be able to provide us input on what they want to see in the city in the next 5 to 10 years. And next slide. So our plan overall is a dedicated web page. We're going to email using our utility emails. that we have available, text messages, and social media. And with that, I'm open to any questions that you might have and any input so we can finalize this survey and start getting the input from the community.
All right. Councilmember Perales, thank you, Ms. Sigdell.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll be brief. I sent an email off late last night. Did you by chance get to read that, Ms. Sigdell?
I did, and I could go through a few highlights, but if you'd prefer, we can do this offline as well, or do it here.
Yeah, no, we can do it offline, but just for the sake of the thousands of people probably watching, I'll just do one of them, of the questions here. We'll start on that last one. The city of Pasco has a number of projects that need funding. Which projects are very important to you and your household? I like a lot of those projects, but I kind of felt like I said in my little review, it's too narrow, and I feel like we need to expand it a little bit more. I mean, there's projects coming up like the Road 108 overpass. I think I had in there riverfront or waterfront improvements. So I just want to know, like, you guys are looking for feedback, but can these changes actually happen? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah. No, that's a great question, and thank you for asking that. I appreciate it because surveys can be fickle, and so some feedback was, can we ask for three? Can we provide three options rather than just two? And those are no, and the reason for that is because as the list of projects grow, because every two priorities in each section then get collected into a list of priorities that then the survey taker is asked to prioritize again. And then they start scrolling and it becomes a list of way too big, unwieldy, and then you don't get more of a precise answer from people. But there's some questions that you've had that are great input that we can definitely add. Longer we make the survey, more the chances of people abandoning it. So we're also trying to avoid that as well. But there was some input that you had in terms of, like, for example, a question regarding overall where Pasco has improved, I believe, or
it was the one about, like, there was one on a scale from 0 to 10. How likely are you to recommend Pasco to your friend or family member? I kind of felt like, I mean, what is that really going to tell us? And then I would think that, like, a proposed follow-up question to that, like a question is, what is the primary reason for that rating? Because someone's a 4, but what does that really mean?
Yeah, so let me address that. So let me address that specifically. We would recommend not changing that, and here's the rationale for it. Because the rest of the survey goes into what are the priorities for you. So essentially, there's 5 sections within the survey that is asking people to pick 2 areas within public safety, parks and recreation, all of these other different areas that is most important to them. And as they select those areas and then prioritize it further, and then tell us how they think the city of Pasco is doing against their priorities, then you start getting an idea of why they think if the score is really good, we must be doing really well in the areas that they're scoring high and they have high importance in. If the score is really bad, we must be doing really bad on things that they're scoring high importance in, but they think that we're not doing a good job at. And so the rest of the survey kind of answers this question. And so we would recommend leaving it as is.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I'll take the rest offline. But yeah, I don't know, some of the questions, and I've been taking these surveys for a number of years that the city has put out, and some questions I liked and some questions I wouldn't word it that way, but I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yep. So council, what we would like to do is incorporate some of the feedback that we've received so far, and we would like to go live as soon as possible so that it facilitates the timeline for budget. So we will incorporate the changes, send out the changes, and maybe within the day or so, we would like to go live if that is acceptable to council.
Yeah, I understand. I think we have a couple more comments or questions for you, Ms. Sigdell, starting with Councilmember
Yeah.
Figueroa.
Yeah, so I just had a question on like this example here that we have where the city of Pasco has a number of projects. Is it possible, or I don't know if it's already included, to bring about like rank choice so people can actually see what their priority number one is, and then, well, you know, I'd like to have, let's say, the Hoppo Center be my number one, but you know, the Road 76 is my number two, just to get more numerical data that would help, because I mean, as it's already worded, it just select all that apply. Well, if you check all of them, what does that do, right? I have one priority over another one, so is it possible? Would that work? Just want to hear your thoughts.
I'm not sure, but I will check and get back to you.
Thank you. And also along those lines, Ms. Sigdell, on that very same question, and I know you're fighting the balance of, trying to keep it brief and succinct to keep people, checking boxes. But I do really think Councilmember Perales brought a lot to it as far as, trying to drill this down a little bit more. But I was just wondering on that question specifically, like, people may not even know what the Road 76 overpass is, or something like that. If there was maybe one, sentence underneath some of those to give people a better idea of what they're actually, choosing, I thought would be really helpful. And then along the lines of what Councilmember Perales was saying, if you believe, Ms. Sigdell, that some of that's going to be brought out later in the survey, but really some of his follow-up questions I thought were absolutely excellent. I'm looking at 2 or 3 down here about comparing us to other areas, and then your answers there are good, as far as the comparison answers, but then just that why, what is it that's really, making them answer that way? Because on one hand, it's kind of general, just say, oh, we're somewhat better. That really just doesn't tell us much, unless you are really convinced we're gonna draw that out of them later on. But some of those follow-up questions, hey, what exactly is making you answer that way, I think would be super helpful to us. And on one hand, you're fighting that balance of keeping people engaged in the survey, but we all love to give our opinions, and I think there's 7 of us up here who, the reason we're up here is we like to give our opinions, but people might like to actually, drill that down and tell us. So I think, some of that's really worth considering if you don't think it'll be drawn out later in the survey, like you suggested in your answer to Councilmember Perales.
Yes, absolutely. We're constantly fighting attention spans, just time that people have in their daily lives, but then also the square footage of the phone screen. So we will do our best to incorporate and see if we can provide people with a little bit more information. Part of the challenge is how much can we fit into that phone screen so that it's a enjoyable user experience. As I'm hearing a lot about getting more comments, would it be acceptable for council, maybe at the very end of the survey, that people can we provide them with a text area that they can provide their feedback on about the city, just things that are not addressed within the survey?
I think that's an excellent idea, because even just pulling back up your presentation here, just the regional park just sounds so generic. People are going to think, well, what's a regional park? Is that a green space? Is it a playground? Is it a pump track? What exactly is that? And maybe where, too, I think would really help us flesh out those answers we're trying to get.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else for Ms. Sigdell? Oh, Councilmember Cotta, thank you.
I have taken surveys that are two-phased in the sense that the first part of the survey will be real quick to the point, making sure we get the most important information, and then it'll ask you, if you have more time, we'd like you to answer these questions too. And that tends to get you through the first phase, and then the people who are interested can spend the time answering questions on the second phase, and maybe that would be a way to see if we can get some additional answers from people. Just a thought.
Oh, that's a great idea. I will bring that up with On Point. The way that the survey is structured, right now we do not have that option, but definitely something that we'll consider for the next time.
Okay, thank you. Excellent discussion. Councilmember Figueroa, one last time, Ms. Sigdell.
One last one. It's also this survey. Does it track how many times the device has submitted a survey, or is it just one survey per device? Just so we kind of know what kind of data we're going to be getting off of these results.
Yes, OnPoint is very serious about data integrity and the science of surveys. So they track all of the IP addresses and will weed out data if the same IP address has been submitting the surveys as well.
Thank you. That's a great comment, Councilmember Figueroa, because we found that out in our fluoride survey that anybody could answer it from anywhere in the country. And, you know, it didn't give us the data we were really hoping for to go on. So, no, that's a really good point. Thank you. Anybody have anything else on this topic with Ms. Sigdell? All right. I'm not seeing a Ms. Sigdell. You're off the hook. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
All right. You good? Okay. Anybody else for miscellaneous discussion? Anything else you want to talk about here?
Oh, I just wanted to bring up
Go ahead, Councilmember Hernandez.
an event, an upcoming event at Café Con Arte. It is called, Art on Cork, and there'll be guest Joe's Nine Sparks, the little wine shop from downtown, and also the WSU Tri-Cities Hanford Heritage Project. So it'll be, I went to one before, and it was very interesting, and there was a lot of people there, and it was a lot of fun as well. So it's this Friday, the 19th, from 6 to 8.
Awesome. No, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I have two things. Is one, you guys, Ms. Mattson may have, I believe, sent us all a reminder to finish up our evaluations. They are due tomorrow for our city manager survey. And then I want to throw one at you out of the blue here. The county set up this regional partners meeting, or man, I was just trying to pull it up. I just lost it here. The Federal Partners Coalition. We're going to have all of these federal agencies, some secretaries, possibly cabinet level positions, but haven't heard that. Cannot guarantee that by any means. I'm sure you probably heard next Thursday, March 26th. At the Hapo Center, there are only 5 of these meetings across the entire United States, and I think it's really cool. We're having one in Pasco. We were asked by the Franklin County Commissioners if we wanted to sponsor that for $5,000. They are also asking other agencies around the area. I am the representative on the BFCOG, and we voted online about that this week, and it looks like the Ben Franklin Council of Governments is also going to sponsor $5,000 just for security, meals, kind of housekeeping type stuff and everything. So that's my ask for you guys this evening. If you would be willing to sponsor that next Thursday for $5,000. I think it's important to do because it's literally in Pasco, and I think that's really cool to have this here, but ultimately it's your decision. Mr. Perales.
I'll go ahead and start it off. I think that the fiscal hawk in me says no. It's great that's the first of its kind in our area, but I think we need to be mindful with our money, and $5,000 is $5,000. So I would say no at this time.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? Councilmember Figueroa.
Where's this money coming from?
It would be the general fund.
Yeah. With only a week notice, I mean, it's kind of difficult unless this is not open to the public, I'm assuming. Or would it be open to the public?
I believe anybody can go there. Yeah, as far as I know. Yeah, join us for a free opportunity to learn about federal resources and partnerships available to support your community.
For me, it would be definitely kind of at this point, no. I think we can make our best use of our $5,000 elsewhere and some other stuff that perhaps would probably help and impact the larger audience, but that's just my take.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? This was just an ask. It's, the Franklin County Commissioners set this up. Ultimately they are hosting it at the Hapo Center. It's within Pasco. They reached out and said that they were going to ask all the area agencies, I assume Benton County, the cities and that kind of stuff, if they wanted to help sponsor that. So that's really just my ask here. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I guess do we know why it came in so late? I mean, usually it's hard to get within a week notice. I mean, do we have a reason why, or did they give a reason why? Or?
No, I wasn't given a reason why. Yes. I'm not, I can't even really speculate. I don't know.
But if we didn't give the 5,000, they're still gonna have it no regardless, correct?
That's my understanding, correct?
I would say not spend the 5,000. That would be the cheapskate in me, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Doesn't
Council,
seem-
oh, sorry. Councilmember Cotta.
I'm just not understanding the nature of the event. Can you explain it a little more? What exactly is
So what
happening?
it is they're bringing basically every cabinet level position here. The Department of Transportation, was it the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and what do we have here? The U.S. Economic Development Administration, the EPA, the Small Business Administration, the USDA, and really it's this says, how they can help support our community, how we can gain access to, whether it be these federal programs or funds. It's a rural development, is kind of the catalyst of it. How we can plug in, whether it be.
This is like a regional type conference where.
I assume there's only 5 in the nation. Yeah, I don't know where the other ones are off the top of my head. And I think some of it's, if they, looking for fiber optic expansion into the rural areas, is the kind of thing that comes to mind.
Do we know how many people are coming or expected to be at this event?
I do not know that either, sir.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, please, by all means, Mr. Stewart.
It is intended to be a regional meeting, so it would include people from Idaho, Montana, Oregon, maybe even Northern California, coming here to have access to these federal officials. Federal officials will talk a little bit about their programs and what funding they have available, but also listen to local regional needs that they could then take back and potentially find partnerships and funding from their agencies to our region in the future.
And we don't know the amount of people that are expected to be at this event.
Not at this time.
Okay.
I don't know how many of the counties had pre-registered for it.
It's kind of a tough sell. I could go either way on it, but I without having a lot of information on it, it's tough to commit to it.
How much money are the counties raise or wanting to raise?
That I don't know. All I was told is they're going to ask their area partners, like Ben Franklin Council of Governments, I assume Benton County, the other cities, for the same.
I guess the other question is, what does the $5,000 get us?
So just, it's security, it's food, it's, housekeeping, just, hosting. I think really what it comes down to is so that Franklin County isn't footing the bill for the entire thing themselves. And, I would have some of these same reservations if it was maybe elsewhere of sponsoring it. But since it is literally in our city, I am more compelled to, really partner with them at this point. Mayor Pro Tem.
I was gonna say, it would have been better had somebody from the county came and did the ask. Just saying, it just seems kind of odd that they're asking you to make the ask when they're making the ask. I would just assume a commissioner.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of times we have Mr. Bauman in the audience or somebody else from the county. If they really want a partnership, it just seems like they're asking late in the game and a week before and say, oh, hey, can you support somebody? I don't understand why it's taken so long. If they want our money, why don't they just come and ask themselves? So that would be my 2 cents as a business owner. It's kind of frustrating that you're having to ask and not them. But that's my 2 cents.
Okay. Well, I will make a motion. If I don't get a second or it dies, so be it. I make a motion we do sponsor $5,000 to this federal area agency event that's going to be at the Hapo Center next Thursday. Not hearing a second, my motion dies. Okay, moving on. We are to executive session number 13. We have, looking at 40 minutes, is that, Mr. Stewart?
Let's start with 20. I think it was meant to be 20 minutes total, not 20 minutes each.
Okay.
So let's start with 20 and see
And
if we need
who's all
more.
going to be in the meeting with us?
It'll be Ms. Sigdale, our city attorney.
Okay. So we are going to go into executive session now. Letter A is to discuss with legal counsel about current or potential litigation per RCW 42.30.110, Section 1, Paragraph I and B, to consider the minimum offering price for sale or lease of real estate if there's a likelihood that disclosure would decrease the price per RCW 42.30.110, Paragraph 1, Section C. The combined amount is 20 minutes. It is now 8:25, so we will be back at 8:45. The time is 8:45. We are still in executive session. We'll need 10 more minutes. We will be back at 8:55.